What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty. Join my Discord if you want to chat and share your thoughts, the link is in the description. 5KD Chapter 101 Witness the miracle at this time. Around the square, Jin of the Beast's pirates, Quinn, Jack, Foz Fu, Black Maria and others are already in place. Charlotte Perispero, Charlotte Katakuri and others from the BIGMOM pirates also found a place to stand excitedly. No way, after arriving at Wanokuni, Jin told them great news. That is the ancestor of the sea, Lord Luo Lei, who is going to perform a kind of ninjutsu that is shaking the ghosts and gods, to resurrect Lord Kaido and Charlotte Linlin. When they heard the news, Charlotte Perispero, Charlotte Katakuri and other officials of the BIGMOM pirates were stunned for a while, and then they were so excited that they wanted to cry. This time, they bet everything, but I didn't expect that when I arrived in Wanokuni, 783. Got a good news, my mother, Charlotte Linlin was going to be resurrected. What surprised the officials of the BIGMOM pirates even more was that Jin also prepared some flesh and blood left over from Elephant Lord for them to take. These supplements made the wounds of the officials of the BIGMOM pirates quicker. The speed of recovery has increased, and the spirit and energy have also improved a lot. Of course, in addition to the cadres of the Beast's pirates, the cadres of the BIGMOM pirates, there are also Morgans, Hancock, Kazuki Hiyori, and the Takako, Yamato. Can it really resurrect the dead? We have to trust Lord Luo Lei. Didn't you see that Jin, Quinn, Jack and others are full of confidence? Once Mother is really revived, the BIGMOM pirates will be the only ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei, from now on. It seemed that they had been waiting for a long time, and some officials of the BIGMOM pirates couldn't help whispering. In addition to the look of anticipation in their eyes, there was anxiety. If you can really bring the dead back to life, Lord Luo Lei is really powerful. Hancock folded his arms and couldn't help sighing. But seems to have thought of something. Hancock's beautiful eyes seemed to have water light flickering. Could it really be possible to bring the dead back to life? Kazuki Hiyori took a deep breath and suppressed the throbbing in her heart. She had already decided that if Lord Luo Lei really brought Kaido and Charlotte Linlin back to life, then she would take out her own as the first Oran of Wanokuni. He has the ability to watch the house. Father Kaido, if you were resurrected, will you hit me? 35. Yamato stood there blankly. Advertisement in the past few days, many scenes of living with Kaido's father flashed in her mind. Before she knew it, Kazuki Oden had disappeared in her mind, and the influence of Ace and Wan Luffy on her had also decreased a lot. So much so that she saw the Straw Hat pirates approaching Wanokuni aggressively from Egg Tip Island, and she only made a little waves in her heart and disappeared. Is it useful to come to Wanokuni now? Eating shit can't keep up with the hot. Swish. Just at this time, Luo Lei appeared in the center of the square with a sound of breaking the air. Quiet. In an instant, the scene returned to a dead silence, as if a needle could be heard falling to the ground. Almost, Luo Lei didn't hesitate and took a deep breath. If there is no systematic help, he is still worried, and now, he is not worried at all, waiting to witness the miracle and it will be over. In the next instant, accompanied by a wave of terrifying chakra, an immortal magic trick, Luo Lei's face appeared on his cheeks, and his hands were rarely printed a few times, and the improved version of Impure World Reincarnation was completed by him. Scoff. Scoff. Without any sign, a slight spatial fluctuation occurs. Two coffins were summoned out of a black hole and placed upright on the ground. One of the coffins is marked, Beasts. The other is marked, BIGMOM, which is obviously a Kaido of the Beasts, and the other is Charlotte Linlin. Is this Kaido's coffin? Something's wrong, isn't Kaido's boss dead? 99. Mother's coffin appeared. Could it be that the mother's body was in the coffin? Is this a miracle? Along with the appearance of the two coffins, there was a rapid uproar in the originally quiet scene, and some people couldn't help rubbing their eyes, for fear that they would lose sight. But, no matter how you rub it, the names on the two coffins seem to be Kaido of the Beasts and Charlotte Linlin. Advertisement, open. 35 At this time, Luo Lei glanced at the coffin and gave an order in a deep voice. Bang. Bang. Accompanied by two crisp voices. The coffin lids of the two coffins were opened in unison and fell to the ground. Inside the coffins, there were two corpses with cracks on their bodies, exuding a strong sense of death. Take a closer look, isn't it the dead Kaido of the Beasts and Charlotte Linlin? After a few seconds, one of the corpses opened his eyes in a daze, as if he had not yet reacted to what was going on. If I remember correctly, wasn't he smashed into the underground magma by Wan Luffy, and he died without a whole body? How can he still open his eyes now? So many familiar ors. Kaido, have we been resurrected? Another corpse came out of the coffin and said incredulously. Could it be? Could it be that Lord Luo Lei really resurrected us? Isn't that smell the smell of Lord Luo Lei? After listening to this sentence, Kaido of the Beasts was instantly shaken, and he knew what was going on in an instant. It must be Jin who went to West Blue to resurrect Lord Luo Lei. Now that Luo Lei has come to Wanokuni, he and Charlotte have been resurrected. Linlin 3.6. Lord Luo Lei. Lord Luo Lei, without any hesitation. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, Kaido of the Beasts and Charlotte Linlin, who had just been resurrected, completely disregarded their image and face, and looked at Luo Lei, who was standing in the center, sad voice. It's just that the voice is very sad, and the cry is also obvious. But neither Kaido of the Beasts nor Charlotte Linlin saw tears fall from their cheeks. All of a sudden, the two froze in place. How could there be no tears? It is as embarrassing as it is to be embarrassed for a while. Chapter 102. Sengoku, Garp, Blackbeard, Red Hair Kaido of the Beasts and Charlotte Linlin have some awkwardness. Originally wanted to express the excitement in his heart after his resurrection, but found that his body after resurrection seemed a little weird. However, just when the two were embarrassed there, the officials of the Beasts Pirates and the BIGMOM Pirates have all shown expressions of horror to ultimate, and there is only one thought in their minds, that is resurrection. Shit, Lord Luo Lei really brought Kaido's old Yamato Charlotte Linlin back to life. Shocking. Extremely shocking, even if you were already mentally prepared. But when they actually saw Kaido of the Beasts and Charlotte Linlin standing in the square, everyone was still shocked. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds with the passage of time. Until seeing Kaido of the Beasts and Charlotte Linlin kneeling in front of Lord Luo Lei, the people who were shocked to ultimate gradually woke up like a dream. Jin, Quinn, Jack, Charlotte Perisparrow, Charlotte Katakuri and others almost couldn't help but exclaimed. Immediately after, countless exclamations gathered together, which directly shook the entire flower capital. Really resurrected? Morgans, Hancock, Kazuki Hiyori, Yamato and others almost widened their eyes, with unbelievable expressions flashing on their cheeks. There was no way, even now, they looked at the living Kaido and Charlotte Linlin, and there was something in their hearts, an unreal feeling. It seems that something is wrong with our body? It seems that the eating disorder is gone. Apart from the lack of temperature, the new body is really excellent. It seems to have unlimited armament hockey and conqueror's hockey, and the strength seems to be not much different from our peak. If there is no misunderstanding, our new body is no longer flesh and blood, and it feels in a state of immortality. The energy of the devil fruit in the form of a fish, a phantom, and a blue dragon is still there. In the field, as the emperor who once ruled the sea. Kaido of the Beasts and Charlotte Linlin sensed their resurrected bodies after realizing they had no tears. As a result, I don't know, I was shocked when I felt it. It turned out that their bodies were no longer flesh and blood. They seemed to be composed of countless dust, not to mention tears, even blood, urine, bones, etc. There is none left. You don't kneel. At this time, Luo Lei glanced at Kaido and Charlotte Linlin, and said with a chuckle. In a sense, you are immortal, and you should be able to exert the power of your peak. Alright. System optimized Impure World Reincarnation. The pros and cons of the Hokage version of Impure World Reincarnation are similar. In addition, as a spellcaster, he used the fairy magic wooden golem as the main composition of the artificial human, which made Kaido of the Beasts and Charlotte Linlin almost resurrected with full strength, and more importantly, the ability of Devil Fruit is still there. Really? Charlotte Linlin, who was in a state of uncertainty, made a surprised voice again. Lord Luo Lei, you are so kind to us. Lord Luo Lei, after you died, you don't even know how I lived for the past 40 years, 39. Advertisement. Kaido's tone was a little sad, and he said helplessly, I wanted to build an anarchic pirate empire on the eve of your resurrection, but an accident happened. I was defeated by the Straw Hat Luffy of the Straw Hat Pirates. Having said that, Kaido also showed a look of annoyance. Knowing that Straw Hat Luffy would frantically explode into Nika form, he should resurrect Lord Luo Lei first, and then hold a fire celebration. Fortunately, Lord Luo Lei resurrected him and Charlotte Linlin. It is also a fortune in misfortune. Well, I see. Luo Lei waved his hand with a light smile, and said meaningfully. You guys first go and find out what happened in the sea recently, and I have to resurrect 4 more people, 35. Clear. Kaido and Charlotte Linlin didn't hesitate either, got up in a hurry and walked towards their own pirate cadres. The two also wanted to know what happened to the situation in the sea after the resurrection of Lord Luo Lei, and if there was any change, and also wanted to know where the Straw Hat Luffy of the Straw Hat Pirates went. Was it killed by Lord Luo Lei? After Kaido and Charlotte Linlin left, Luo Lei's mind was moved, and the whole body chakra was surging, and he made a few more seals. Scoff. A slight spatial fluctuation occurs. But, this time, 4 consecutive coffins were summoned from a black hole and placed upright on the square. From left to right, the coffins were marked with battle, card, black, and red. Open, clang, clang, with the sound of coffin boards falling to the ground. 4 coffins were opened in no particular order, and inside were the marine hero, Garp, the former marine marshal, Sengoku, Marshal D. Teach, one of the former 4 emperors, and the red-haired Shanks. Marshal D. Teach opened his eyes first, a look of doubt flashed in his eyes. Isn't he already dead? Even if he became an unprecedented 3-fruit ability person, he was killed by Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, and he was hid in the sea of 9 snakes. How can he live again now? How is this possible? Garp walked out of the coffin and exclaimed. Isn't the old man already dead in the hands of the ancestors of the sea? What? After hearing this, an unbelievable look came from the other coffin. Garp, are you dead too? Sengoku. When Garp heard the words, he was stunned for a moment, and then he said with great surprise. I finally saw you. Could this be Wang Chen? 35. This is not a yellow spring, we should be resurrected by the ancestors of the sea. The red-haired Shanks came out of the coffin, glanced bitterly at Luo Lei who was standing not far away, and said with a sigh, even if he died, he never let us go, and things are a bit difficult. What? This is really the breath of the ancestors of the sea. He resurrected us, what did he want to do, wouldn't he want to use us? 35. With the voice of the redhead Shanks, Blackbeard, Garp, and Sengoku began to observe the surrounding environment after realizing it. At first glance, I saw Luo Lei, an indifferent ancestor of the sea, followed by the cadres of the Beasts Pirates, the cadres of the BIGMOM Pirates, and Kaido of the Beasts and Charlotte Linlin who were in the same state. Advertisement in an instant, Blackbeard, Garp, and Sengoku froze. The joy of resurrection was gone, and there was only a sense of fear that made them creepy. On the other hand, Kaido of the Beasts and Charlotte Linlin, who had just been resurrected from Impure World reincarnation, also probably knew something about what happened to the sea after their death. In addition to being stunned, they were shocked. Especially seeing the resurrected Sengoku, Garp, Blackbeard, and red-haired Shanks, was even more horrified. Lord Luo Lei is worthy of being the ancestor of the sea. After being resurrected, he has done so many earth-shattering events. Now he does not let go of the last value of the dead. Luo Lei, what exactly are you trying to do? After a few seconds, Sengoku took a deep breath and roared with an ugly face. We are already dead, but you have resurrected us against common sense. You are completely blaspheming our souls. 9. Seems to be extremely angry. Sengoku wanted to do something when his mind moved, but he found that he couldn't control his body at all. Our bodies simply don't obey. Beside him, Garp clenched his fist wrapped around armament hockey and said gloomily, if I guess correctly, even if we are resurrected, our bodies will be controlled by Luo Lei. Damn. Sengoku made a sound of incompetent fury. As for the red-haired Shanks and Blackbeard, although they did not speak, their faces were the same ugly and aggrieved. As a strong man, they also have their own pride and dignity, and now they are resurrected like a marionette by the ancestors of the sea. What is this? Ha ha, Luo Lei showed a disdainful expression and said indifferently, if you die in my hands, you must be prepared to be resurrected as tools. Whatever Laozi asks you to do, you can do it for me. In fact, starting from killing Sengoku, Luo Lei purposely let Wood Clone collect some flesh and blood of the strong people he killed, and seal them in the scroll, and now it can come in handy. Garp, Sengoku, Redhead Shanks, Blackbeard are speechless. Listen, is this still what people say? The ancestors of the sea are really too lawless. Humph. The corners of Luo Lei's mouth were slightly raised, and he snorted coldly. If you perform well, I can let you control your own body. Really? The voice did not fall. Blackbeard, who was still standing on a united front with Garp and others, flashed a ray of light in his eyes. He could see Kaido of the Beasts and Charlotte Linlin, who were also resurrected, and his body was completely uncontrolled. It must be true. Luo Lei shrugged lightly and said slowly, since you have been resurrected, let's do something that will make the whole sea go berserk. The next moment, it seems to have received instructions from Luo Lei. The expressions of Sengoku, Garp, red-haired Shanks, and Blackbeard changed suddenly, and they wanted to say something, but they found that their bodies were out of control, and their bodies flew out towards Wanokuna's pier in a flash. It's time to start the final step. Luo Lei looked at the backs of Sengoku and the others leaving. A coldness flashed across his cheeks, and muttered to himself. If you have the ability, you can continue to endure it, and you will be done when you see my crescent moon rise into the sky. Chapter 103 shocked Akainu and Kong. And after Sengoku, Garp, red-haired Shanks, and Blackbeard left, Luo Lei turned his eyes, glanced at Kaido of the Beasts and Charlotte Linlin, and said softly, if you have nothing to do, go for a walk in the BIGMOM waters. Understood. Ha ha ha, that's exactly what I mean, I have to move my muscles and bones just after being resurrected. After hearing this, having roughly understood what happened to the sea during this time, Kaido of the Beasts and Charlotte Linlin both laughed violently. The world thought they were dead, then this time, the sea is ready to shake violently. Okay, that's it for now, everyone can leave. Swish. A cracking sound rang out. Luo Lei's body disappeared in the square. Next, he wants to control Garp, Sengoku, Redhead Shanks, Blackbeard, and go to the sea to do things. Gone. Let's go for a walk. Accompanied by a wave of terror, Kaido of the Beasts turned into a giant blue dragon carrying Charlotte Linlin, came with a very elegant dragon wagging its tail, and disappeared neatly in the flower capital. After being silent for so long, it's time for our Beasts Pirates to enter the fighting state. Jin took a deep breath, suppressed the throbbing in his heart, and left the scene with the excited Quinn, Jack and others. Let's go too. Charlotte Parasparrow, Charlotte Katakuri and others from the BIGMOM Pirates looked at each other, and they could see the joy in their eyes. With the resurrection of Mom, Charlotte Linlin, next, you don't have to think about it, the BIGMOM Pirates will come to the New World again. I should get ready too. Morgan's eyes were full of excitement. This time, he didn't have to think about it to know that the newspaper of the news of the world would cause the whole sea to rush. Even if he thought about it, he had some expectations. I have to behave better and try to revive my mother as soon as possible. A blush flashed on Kazuki Hiyori's pretty face, and it was time to use the trends she had seen in the book on Lord Luo Lei. Wanokuna's first Oran is about to be unlocked to the full body. The concubine is convinced. Hancock blinked a few times with a pair of watery eyes and left the square thoughtfully. Soon, the people in the square are almost gone, only Yamato was standing there in a state of despair. After Kaido's father was resurrected, he didn't even look at her, which made Yamato, who was still hopeful, unable to accept it. Dad Kaido, I already knew I was wrong. Yamato seemed to be wearing a mask of pain, showing a helpless expression to Ultimate. She would rather Father Kaido beat her and scold her, so that her heart would feel better, and she did not want Father Kaido to ignore her like this, as if there was no daughter like her. I won't give up. Yamato clenched his fists and muttered to himself, Dad Kaido, I will never let you down this time. At the same time, after Sengoku, Garp, Blackbeard, red-haired Shanks arrived at a pier off Wanokuni, they boarded a pirate ship and headed for naval headquarters in New World. That's right, the ancestors of the sea. Luo Lei gave them the order to destroy naval headquarters and plunder naval headquarters' military supplies. Advertisement, what happened? We were resurrected. Garp sensed the state of his body, and said with an ugly face, I have used all kinds of methods, but I can't get rid of the control of the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei. Garp, you're an idiot and an idiot. After hearing this, Sengoku couldn't help being annoyed and said, I'm going to die when I die. Why do you want to die? It's really confusing the more you live. Garp grinned, snorted coldly, and said, You're dead, what's the point of me living with an old bone? It's better to challenge the ancestors of the sea, who died 100 times. Then you can't go to die. Sengoku obviously knew Garp's character, turned his head to look at the sea in front of him, his eyes showed concern, and said, I'm afraid we will bring a lot of trouble to naval headquarters next, after the resurrection, our strength seems to be at its peak. It's very troublesome. Garp's face became solemn, and he said incredulously, How could Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, master such pervert of ninjutsu? The sea is about to start messing up. Yes. Red-haired Shanks showed a wry smile and said, With my left arm restored, my strength will be even more terrifying. I wonder if naval headquarters can resist it. It should be hard to resist. Sengoku felt his body for a moment, and said extremely heavily, The armament hockey is almost endless, and the body seems to be immortal. Naval headquarters is doomed. Alas. 35 The red-haired Shanks sighed and said, It's only one step at a time. Shanks, when did you get killed? Suddenly, as if thinking of something, Garp asked curiously, Could it be that the red-hair pirates have been wiped out? I was killed in Wanokuni. Red-haired Shanks shook his head and sighed with emotion. It's not because your precious grandson didn't respond after you went to the country of the future, so I know that there are tigers in the mountains, and they tend to travel in the mountains. Ha ha ha. Garp couldn't help laughing, and said, You are also because of Luffy? My grandson Luffy is really charismatic. 35. I don't know if Luffy has come out of the future country, he must not be impulsive? Ignoring Garp, who was indifferent, the red-haired Shanks thought about it for a while, and then said with some worry. The ancestor of the sea. Luo Lei is already very strong, and he can continue to resurrect those dead powerhouses. Luffy, if I go alone, I'm afraid I won't be wiped out by the group. 5. Probably not. Garp hesitated for a moment, and his mood suddenly became bad. Ha ha, and Blackbeard, who had never spoken, flashed a sneer on his cheek, but didn't bother to say anything. It is better to die than to live. Now that he is resurrected, even if he is a puppet, he is happy. Moreover, as long as he performed well, he could regain control of his body. He, Blackbeard, the invincible 3-fruit ability person, had to perform well no matter what. New World, Marineg-1 headquarters, similar to Marineford's layout. After becoming naval headquarters, the entire fortress has been greatly strengthened and doubled, and it has already become a fortress beyond Marineford. From afar, the great fortress stands there. On the front of the fortress, there are 2 characters, Marine, engraved on it, and in the center is the logo of Marine, which is a pattern of a seagull. At this time, inside the Marshal's office at the top of the fortress, Marshal, Sakazuki and General Commander Kong are sitting there. Advertisement. This time, when I came to naval headquarters, I just wanted to tell you, Marine, that when the time is right, the world government will be in full swing, and even the 5 elders will take an unprecedented shot. 99. Kong folded his arms in front of him, and said solemnly, Strive to kill the ancestors of the sea at one time, so that they will never be born again. It is good. Sakazuki clenched his fist and said with a cold expression, Marine has already prepared and ordered, and is waiting for the world government's order. Okay, then I'll go back to Mariejois first. Kong nodded, hesitated for a while, and then said solemnly, If possible, destroy the Straw Hat Pirates together. 39. This, Sakazuki frowned, but nodded firmly. There is nothing to say. When Garp was alive, Marine gave him all the face he deserved. Now that he is dead, he has done his best to deal with the Straw Hat Pirates. This is a 4 Emperors pirate like Straw Hat Luffy. Then I'll go first, however, just when Kong wanted to stand up and leave the office. A Marine's rear admiral was like a ghost. He didn't even knock on the door, he hurriedly pushed the door in, and said in a hurried tone, Commander Air, Marshal Sakazuki, something is bad. Watching the sudden intrusion into Marine Rear Admiral Both Sakazuki and Kong were stunned for a moment, then burst into rage. They were having a meeting and a little rear admiral came in without even knocking on the door, which was unruly. However, when I was about to get angry, the trembling Marine rear admiral said in an unbelievable tone, "A large pirate ship is approaching naval headquarters, and on the deck seems to be the dead Sengoku Inspector General and Marine hero, Garp, and Blackbeard. And red hair fragrance. Zhao Qian Zhao, XX.99. Boom. After saying this, the Marine rear admiral was too terrified, his legs slumped on the ground, showing a ghostly look. What? What did you say? The anger on Sakazuki and Kong's cheeks froze, and they couldn't help but let out an exclamation. What are you kidding? Didn't Sengoku, Garp, Blackbeard, Redhead Shanks all die? How could it be possible to stand on the deck? The Marine rear admiral was about to cry, and said tremblingly, I've confirmed it several times, it's really Garp Vice Admiral and Sengoku Inspector General, Blackbeard and red-haired Shanks are also there. At the beginning, this Marine rear admiral also thinks he is wrong. But, after confirming it again and again, I couldn't help but tremble and report to the marshal's office. After all, 4 people have been confirmed dead. Standing in front of me alive, no matter how I think about it, my scalp is tingling. Walk. Let's go take a look. Sakazuki and Kong's eyes flashed with suspicion, and without any hesitation, they rushed out of the office in no particular order. Chapter 104 Emperor's Siege Naval Headquarters? At this time, on the rolling sea, a pirate ship is quickly heading towards naval headquarters in New World. On the deck, Sengoku, Garp, red-haired Shanks, Blackbeard are standing on the bow, looking at the approaching naval headquarters. Their expressions are different. Among them, Sengoku and Garp's faces were extremely bitter and helpless. They used to go back to naval headquarters to go home, but now they went back to destroy naval headquarters. The feeling of powerlessness made them very tormented and painful. The red-haired Shank's complexion is also extremely complicated. He has hardly ever been to the naval headquarters in the New World. Now, he will destroy the naval headquarters the first time he goes there. As for Blackbeard, in addition to being uneasy, he clenched his fist slightly, and there was a faint trace of excitement on his cheek. As the predecessor of the 4 emperors, he did not dare to destroy the naval headquarters when he was alive, but when he died, he was able to destroy the naval headquarters. That feeling made Blackbeard's heart very comfortable. Of course, if it's him alone, the chances are very slim, but with the redhead Shanks, Sengoku, Garp, the chances are great. Equivalent to the 4 emperors joining forces to attack naval headquarters. Opportunities are great. At the same time, when this pirate ship was heading towards naval headquarters, the 3 top warships of naval headquarters also seemed to have noticed an abnormality, and when they were about to approach interception, they found Sengoku, Garp, red-haired man standing on the deck. Shanks, Blackbeard 4. In an instant, the Marines on the deck were all stunned, as if they had seen a ghost. What's the situation? The dead Sengoku Inspector General, Garp Vice Admiral, the red-haired Shanks and Blackbeard of one of the 4 emperors. Why are they standing on the deck? Is there a mistake? Very few timid Marine soldiers are soft and almost scared, slumped on the deck. Certainly, in fact, it's not just Marines on warships. 787 even on the naval headquarters fortress, many Marines with binoculars were fooled. After confirming it again and again, a naval headquarters rear admiral flew towards the marshal's office with an unbelievable look on his face. Has it finally been discovered? See the 3 naval headquarters top warships nearby. Sengoku's expression condensed, he took a deep breath, and shouted loudly, I am the former marshal of naval headquarters, Sengoku, you should all know me. Now I can't control my body, so you all quickly evacuate naval headquarters. Boom. When the voice mixed with Conqueror's haki spread out, it spread all over the sea in an instant. In an instant, not only the Marines on the 3 naval headquarters top warships, but even the Marines in the naval headquarters fortress were stunned. Even Kong and Sakazuki, who had just flew out, were startled. Resurrected? Did the dead Sengoku really come back to life? Even with Garp, redhead Shanks, Blackbeard resurrected? How is this possible? Who resurrected them? Why did Sengoku let Marine withdraw from naval headquarters? Countless questions, just like 100,000 whys. In the minds of Kong, Sakazuki and other Marines. Of course, with these shocking words, Kizaru, Green Bull, Fujitora, one of Marine's 3 admirals, as well as Marine's high-end combat power, such as Staff Crane, Dark Horse, Momosagi, and so on, all flew to naval headquarters fortress from all directions with horrified expressions. The top of the. Immediately after, countless Marines saw an unforgettable scene. Advertisement. I saw Blackbeard on the pirate ship, and suddenly his body involuntarily took a step forward. At the same time, he clenched his fists violently, and the concussive force like a white halo gathered on the fist, BJDG, and then slammed it, air. Clap. Clap. The sound of air bursting resounded. Is this the power of shock fruit? Sengoku and Garp's expressions changed greatly, and they hurriedly shouted at the 3 Marine top-level warships not far away. You guys back up quickly. What? Quick. Quickly retreat. In fact, there was no need for Sengoku and Garp to remind them. Looking at the shocking power of the cracks in the air, the Marines on the 3 naval headquarters top warships suddenly recovered and wanted to evacuate urgently. Boom. However, At this time, the red-haired Shanks, who had been motionless for a long time, burst out with an imposing shockwave that shot straight into the sky, suppressing the three top naval headquarters warships. King to the sea, heaven and earth surrender. There was almost no resistance, and the Marine soldiers on the three naval headquarters top warships had not reacted, and they felt a buzzing sound in their minds, and a blank. Boom. After a few seconds, the force of shock slammed into the top warships of the three naval headquarters with a destructive force. The seemingly sturdy top-level warship, in the face of the violent shock force, only lasted for less than 5 seconds, and was shattered by the shock. The soldiers were swept into the waves without any power to fight back. Quiet. Looking at the destroyed 3 Marine top-level warships, naval headquarters fell into a silent silence, and it seemed that they did not expect Blackbeard and red-haired Shanks to do it, and there was no sign at all. Blackbeard, redhead Shanks, what do you want to do? See this scene. Garp and Sengoku were split-eyed and roared loudly. Ha ha. Blackbeard shrugged indifferently and said helplessly, my body is out of control, and I have no choice. Certainly, say so, Blackbeard still feels pretty cool inside. The red-haired Haki, with his shock fruit powers, was a match for his face, wiping out 3 of the top naval headquarters warships without breaking a sweat. Alas. Me too. The red-haired Shanks sighed helplessly and said, if the Marine soldiers of naval headquarters don't retreat, the next outbreak of Conqueror's Haki may not be as simple as before. What are you still doing? Sengoku raised his head and roared angrily, the Marine soldiers of naval headquarters are all evacuating for me. What's the situation? Sengoku, Garp, what the hell is going on with you? Damn it, are you trying to attack our naval headquarters? Hearing Sengoku's voice, Sakazuki, Kong, Kizaru, Green Bull and other talents in naval headquarters fortress came back to their senses and showed expressions of shock to ultimate, especially when they saw the destruction of the 3 top Marine warships. They immediately realized the seriousness of the matter. We were resurrected by our ancestor Luo Lei with a secret technique, and now we can't control our bodies, so let Marine all evacuate naval headquarters. Garp took a deep breath and said loudly, next, we may be together. Attack naval headquarters. Advertisement boom. After this sentence, the entire naval headquarters was shaken. Countless Marine soldiers all showed their jaw-dropping expressions, and their hearts were filled with turbulent waves, which could not be calmed down at all. The ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei actually resurrected Sengoku Inspector General, Garp Vice Admiral, red-haired Shanks, Blackbeard to attack naval headquarters. What is he trying to do? What an incomprehensible lunatic. 35 Kong clenched his fist and said with a solemn expression, Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, looks like he is finally going to attack the world government. 99. No, things are getting serious. Akainu clenched his fist and said solemnly, Blackbeard, red-haired Shanks, plus Garp and Sengoku, this is equivalent to the 4 emperors besieging naval headquarters? Really? So scary? Kizaru rubbed his eyes and said a little shocked. To resurrect the dead and be a tool person, this ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei really has a good plan. It's about the rhythm of our Marines' perpetual death. 35. Aramaki rubbed his stiff cheeks and said in a serious tone, judging from the breath just now, whether it is Blackbeard or red-haired Shanks, it seems that their strength has not weakened much after the resurrection, especially Shanks, whose arms are still intact. Yes, it could be more terrifying. 5. Sengoku, Garp, you guys are actually being controlled by the great-great ancestor. Staff officer, he suppressed the urge to cry and muttered to himself. This great-great-great ancestor, Luo Lei, what exactly is trying to do? Actually, at first seeing the resurrected Sengoku and Garp, Staff Officer Crane was still very excited, but, after hearing that it was being controlled by the ancestors of the sea, the excitement turned into fright. When she thought that Sengoku and Garp, who had served Marine for most of their lives, were going to attack naval headquarters, she felt uncomfortable for a while. The ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei, just wanted to slap Marine in the face? As for the Dark Horse, Fujitora, Momosagi and others didn't speak, but the chilling expression on their cheeks already showed everything. All Marines are ordered to evacuate naval headquarters quickly. Akainu gritted his teeth and quickly issued an order. Marine 3 Admiral Aramaki, Fujitora, Kizaru, and Momosagi, the Dark Horse will meet the enemy with me. You are responsible for organizing the evacuation, Commander Crane. Great eruption. After saying this, Akainu was the first to launch an attack in anger. Since Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, was resurrected, he has endured, and now it's okay, he was bullied to his head and shit? Whether it is bearable or unbearable, if you want to fight, then fight. The next moment, the huge magma fist erupted from midair like a meteorite and smashed towards the pirate ship that Sengoku and others were riding on. T7. In the face of Akainu's attack, Sengoku, who didn't want to fight back, changed his expression, and his body automatically turned into a golden Buddha statue. With a fist, he slammed into the magma fist that fell from the sky. Boom. A deafening roar resounded, the magma fist exploded in response, turning into countless magma and scattered on the sea. Do it. And this is like a fuse. Kong, Aramaki, Fujitora, Kizaru, and Momosagi, the Black Horse's body flew out, and on the other side, Garp, red-haired Shanks, and Blackbeard started to move uncontrollably. War is imminent. Chapter 105 Bombing Naval Headquarters, The Aggrieved Marine. Boom. Boom. Accompanied by a series of earth-shattering roars resounding. Countless energy waves erupted madly, and the seas near the New World Naval Headquarters set off stormy waves one after another, swept out in all directions, causing the sea area to tremble violently. And in the center of the battlefield, a war that can be called the highest level of the sea is breaking out. Akainu vs Sengoku, Kong vs Garp, Marine Green Bull and Dark Horse vs Blackbeard, one of the three admirals. Fujidora, Momosagi vs Shanks. As for Kizaru, he roams the battlefield with his own speed. Look around, the battles in various battle circles are very fierce, and the various energy waves are raging continuously, and the violent impact produced can be described as dark, the sun and the moon are dull. Boom. With a roar, the golden Buddha incarnation of Sengoku blasted countless magma fists one by one. Armament hockey was like no money, and the huge golden Buddha body was wrapped tightly. Akainu, after my resurrection, my strength is almost at its peak, with infinite armament hockey, and an immortal body. Seeing that Akainu couldn't attack for a long time, Sengoku couldn't help but reminded. Akainu's face was gloomy, his arms turned into magma arms, and he kept G against the golden giant Buddha incarnated by Sengoku, saying, "Can't you control your body a little?" Sengoku didn't give up at all, and said helplessly, "The ancestor of the sea. Luo Lei is too strong, we can't break free from his control at all, we can only control our body by him." "It's really damn." Akainu scolded angrily, feeling as much aggrieved as he wanted. Now he is at his peak, but the resurrected Sengoku is also at his peak, causing him and Sengoku to explode each other, and neither can help each other. What's even more embarrassing is that he finally blew the arm of Sengoku's incarnation into a golden giant Buddha. In the blink of an eye, countless dust gathered and recovered again. What's the point of hitting a hammer? As for the other battle circles, the pinnacle Garp pressed the old Kong to death, and Kong, who kept punching punch after punch, retreated. Seeing that Commander Kong is at a disadvantage, Kizaru attacked Garp without hesitation. "Have you been kicked by the light?" Boom, a crackling sound rang out. Garp's right arm was kicked out alive by Kizaru, but unfortunately, the countless dust condensations were restored in the blink of an eye. "Have you ever been hit by my iron fist?" The next moment, Garp imitated the tone of Kizaru's words, and slammed his left fist, which was wrapped in armament hockey. Advertisement, T-hash, although already elementalized in advance. Kizaru was still hit by armament hockey, and the punch flew out and slammed into the naval headquarters fortress. Boom. A huge mushroom cloud rose up. "Kizaru, it was not what I said just now, but what the ancestors of the Great Ocean said." 55 Garp said a little embarrassedly. "Just now I deliberately exposed flaws and exchanged injuries for injuries, but I didn't expect you to be fooled." 5. With that said, Garp starts attacking Kong again. Peeved. Hearing this sentence, Kizaru flew out of the ruins, almost vomited blood. Relying on his immortality, every attack has to be wounded for wounds, he is really too difficult. How can the resurrection ninjutsu of Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, be so pervert? "Kizaru, come and help me." Boom. Facing Garp's injury for injury pass, the old Kong was even more unbearable. Garp was blasted out with an iron fist and smashed into the fortress of naval headquarters, making a roaring sound. 8 feet Joan Tomo, brush, swish. Accompanied by the sound of breaking air, countless dazzling light bullets attacked Garp like a storm. However, in the face of such an attack, Garp did not take any evasion, and just stood there motionless, letting countless dazzling light bullets hit his body wrapped by armament hockey. "I can't fight anymore." See this scene, Kizaru couldn't help complaining. "I've seen shameless, I've never seen one as shameless as Garp." Relying on the advantage of his body after his resurrection, he completely ignored his attack. "Sakazuki, let's withdraw." 35 Seeing that Kizaru was restraining Garp, Kong crawled out of the rubble, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and said, "If we continue to fight, even if we can win, it will be a tragic victory, there is really no need." 95. When it comes to this, Kong also added with a dignified expression, "The naval headquarters is destroyed, we can still rebuild it, and if there are no people, Luo Lei may be resurrected as a toolman." 35. Of course, Kong didn't say a word, that is, he was already a little scared. He was old enough to just go to naval headquarters to convey the instructions of the 5 elders, but he didn't expect to encounter such a thing. He still has lofty political ambitions that have not been realized. Haven't gotten to the 5 elders yet, but don't want to die in naval headquarters. Advertisement: as long as he sits on the position of the 5 elders and gets the appreciation of Lord Yim, he should be able to restore the strength of the peak period like the current 5 elders. After hearing this, Akainu, who was fighting with Sengoku, suddenly turned gloomy. Withdraw? Voluntarily give up naval headquarters? If this is spread out, will Marine still have any face? Does he still have face as Marshal Marine? I'm afraid he will be ridiculed by the whole sea. If they don't withdraw, the stalemate won't do Marine any good. Akainu, get out. The giant Buddha incarnated by Sengoku sighed and said, "It won't do Marine any good to fight again, let the world government deal with the headache, and let IM find a way. Withdraw." With a fluctuating expression on his face, Sakazuki gritted his teeth and roared loudly. Swish. Swish. The voice did not fall, a sound of breaking through the air rang out. Kizaru, Kong, Fujitora, Green Bull, Momoshagi, Dark Horse, and Sakazuki all left the battlefield with great speed. See this scene, Blackbeard, red-haired Shanks, Sengoku, Garp flashed their bodies, and they all landed on naval headquarters, which was already ravaged and crisscrossed. Swish. Sengoku took the lead on a trip to the naval headquarters where supplies were stored. Because the evacuation was fast, the time was tight, and the place where Marine stored the materials was hidden, Marine did not remove the materials, which was cheaper. Sengoku, after carrying 3 boxes in a row, came out. Blackbeard, Redhead Shanks, and Garp begin their final assault on naval headquarters. Boom. After a few minutes, one after another roar sounded continuously. The naval headquarters of Marine New World disappeared into the sea alive, leaving only a rough sea in place. And watching this scene from a distance, the expressions of Akainu, Kizaru, Aramaki, Heima and others who are retreating are extremely cold and cold. Today, they were taught a lesson by the ancestors of the sea, Luo Lei. Their faces were swollen, and some valuable materials from naval headquarters must have been robbed. Resurrection, it can be predicted that the sea that was shaking again and again will be in chaos. The sea will completely enter a state of rampage. Chapter 106 Aokiji's Horror, the dead are resurrected. The Sea Riot, one more kneeling and begging to subscribe. New World, BIGMOM Waters, after the BIGMOM pirates left without hesitation. The Aokiji pirates took over most of the territory of the BIGMOM pirates, and a small part was occupied by Vinsmoke Reiju, IG, Caesar Kerrang and others from Germa 66. However, even if occupied, in fact, the Aokiji pirates and Germa 66 have no bottom in their hearts and are always on guard. After all, the BIGMOM pirate group went to Wanokuni uncharacteristically for help, and if it really hugged the thigh of the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei, there would be some trouble. To put it mildly, in the face of Luo Lei, the great ancestor of the sea, it would be a lie to say that you are not afraid. Even the 4 emperors level Aokiji pirates have no courage to face the great ancestor, Luo Lei. Confrontation. Clap. Clap. Accompanied by the sound of being frozen. The Cake Island in the BIGMOM sea area and the surrounding sea area were completely frozen by cold air, which virtually lowered the temperature of this sea area by several degrees. Boss Kuzan, it seems that the BIGMOM pirates don't plan to take their own territory. Looking at the frozen Cake Island, Giza's Badgers, who was standing on the deck, clenched his fists and said happily, "Now our Aokiji pirates have perfectly received the great power of Whitebeard pirates and BIGMOM pirates. Part of the territory has become the largest sphere of influence among the 4 emperors. 99. Yes. With a long spear, Van Oka stretched and complimented with a smile. Under the leadership of Boss Kuzan, our Aokiji pirate ship will definitely become stronger and stronger. The only thing to pay attention to now is the ancestors of the sea." Shiryu was holding a cigar, spit out a few puffs of white smoke, and said with a heavy face, "Once the great ancestor decides to help the BIGMOM pirates, we must immediately withdraw from the BIGMOM waters." 793. Heard this sentence, Giza's Badgers, Van Oka, Abaro Pizarro, Lafitte and others, who were still a little excited at first, looked stiff, and they were in a bad mood all of a sudden. Although I don't want to admit it, but the fact is that the Aokiji pirates today are definitely not the opponents of the ancestors of the sea. After all, they are the peerless ruthless men who kill the 4 emperors like killing a dog. Did you run away? As for Kuzan, with his hands on the side of the boat, he looked at the frozen Cake Island, and there was a hint of loss in his eyes. He led the main force of the Aokiji pirates to come here because he wanted to destroy the BIGMOM pirates, so as not to go to the ancestors of the sea, Luo Lei, but he did not expect the BIGMOM pirates to run faster than expected, which makes some people distressed. Well, let's get ready to evacuate. Kuzan seemed to have thought of something, showing a tired look. 3 years after another, he has become the 4 emperors, but Sengoku, who was connected with him, has already been killed. He is really too difficult. That's right, after the failure to compete for the marshal, Aokiji chose to secretly join the Naval Headquarters Secret Special Unit, Sword, and quit Marine. After all, there are some things he can do without staying in Marine, and there are some things, only no longer it is Marine to see clearly. Moreover, having the identity of a pirate will make it more convenient to do things. Whether it is a pirate or a Marine has no effect on the justice he insists on. The plan was going well. Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea who had been dead for more than 40 years, was resurrected, disrupting everything. But, just as the officers of the Aokiji pirates were about to leave, Kuzan and Shiryu both stared at each other, as if they were perceiving something, and they all showed incredible expressions, because 2 extremely powerful and undisguised oars were heading towards the sea where Cake Island is located from a distance. Fly by. Even more baffling to Aokiji and Shiryu is that the breath is the breath of the dead Kaido of the Beasts and Charlotte Linlin. What's wrong? Aware of the abnormality of Kuzan's old Yamato, Shiryu, Giza's Badgers, Van Oka, Abaro Pizarro, Lafitte and others showed puzzled expressions, and looked at Kuzan in the direction of Shiryu's eyes. I saw in the distance where the sea and the sky meet. Countless dark clouds are gathering, and wisps of thunder can still be seen faintly interweaving. As the dark clouds got closer and closer, a giant cyan dragon appeared in the dark clouds surrounded by thunder and lightning, and an old woman in a large pink dress stood on her back. No doubt, this is Kaido of the Beasts, known as the strongest creature, who has been defeated by King Luffy, and Bigmom Charlotte Linlin, known as the Born Destroyer. After seeing all this clearly, whether it was Kuzan, Shiryu, Giza's Badgers, Vanoka, Abaro Pizarro, Lafitte and others, they all showed expressions of horror, only to feel the buzzing in their heads. Several of the cadres even rubbed their eyes, but found that they were not mistaken. In front of them are Kaido of the Beasts and Charlotte Linlin, one of the last 4 emperors. How is this possible? Haven't they been driven into the underground lava by Straw Hat Luffy? Incredible, really incredible. The breath on Kaido and Charlotte Linlin is weird, it's supposed to be resurrected. Kuzan suppressed the throbbing in his heart and said in an unbelievable tone, "If I guessed correctly, it should be the ancestors of the sea, Luo Lei, who resurrected them." What? Advertisement, revived Kaido and Charlotte Linlin. No. Impossible? Can people be resurrected when they die? The voice did not fall, there was an uproar from the deck. Many pirates of the Aokiji pirates kept sweating from their foreheads, showing expressions of awe and trembling. No way, no one thought that Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, could be resurrected himself. Even Kaido of the Beasts and Charlotte Linlin could be resurrected. Boom. After about 3 minutes, dark clouds covered the Cake Island. The dragon-shaped Kaido of the Beasts twisted his body in the interweaving of thunder and lightning, looked at the Aokiji pirates below, and said like thunder, "Aokiji, I didn't expect to be Marine. You, Admiral, have become the 4 emperors." Who? 99 Aokiji looked at Kaido of the Beasts and Charlotte Linlin in the sky, suppressed the shock in his heart, and said solemnly, "I didn't expect you to be resurrected." Ha 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 ha. 35 Kaido of the Beasts let out a thunderous laugh and said, "Isn't it normal for us to be resurrected?" Ma. 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 Charlotte Linlin grinned and said violently, "Lord Luo Lei is very powerful. After this time, after the resurrection of the old lady, even the eczema is gone. It's really cool. So, please get out of the Bigmom waters for my mother immediately." 35. Boom. When it comes to the last sentence, Charlotte Linlin's eyes showed a surging fighting intent, and a monstrous aura erupted from her body and swept the sea. What a mighty conqueror's haki! With the outbreak of Charlotte Linlin, the pirates of Red Hair Pirates showed fear in their eyes, and some of the pirates on the deck with slightly weaker strength were shocked and their eyes turned white, and it seemed that they would fall into a coma at any time. "Since we met, then I'll give you a greeting first." Seeing that Charlotte Linlin was arrogant, Kaido of the Beasts slowly raised his head, accompanied by a terrifying energy fluctuation. A violent flame condensed in the dragon's mouth crazily. Oops. Oops, quick, leave the pirate ship first and go to Cake Island. Facing the attack of Kaido of the Beasts, Kuzan and Shiryu quickly entered a fighting state, staring solemnly at Kaido and Charlotte Linlin in midair. That's right, at their level, with a little perception, you can roughly know what state the opponent's strength is in. Now Charlotte Linlin and Kaido of the Beasts, judging from the breath they burst out, are undoubtedly at their peak. In other words, facing the 4 emperors at their peak. Even Aokiji and Shiryu felt the pressure. What? Quickly withdraw to Cake Island. Hearing this sentence, the pirates of the Aokiji pirates had almost no hesitation, and quickly left the pirate ship and fled wildly towards the Cake Island. Heat breath. In midair, Kaido of the Beasts didn't care so much. After the brewing was almost over, he launched an attack directly towards Kuzan and Shiryu below. Boom. The monstrous dragon breath poured out towards Kuzan and Shiryu. An extremely terrifying energy shockwave and the roar of the burning air erupted, and the huge momentum seemed to destroy the world. "Captain Kuzan, what should I do now?" Facing the overwhelming heat, Shiryu had already thrown away the cigar in his mouth, holding the famous knife Thunderstorm in his hand, and asked urgently. "You're guarding Charlotte Linlin, Kaido is on my side." After Kuzan gritted his teeth slightly, he pressed his hands to the sky slightly, and the terrifying power of freezing swept out. Ice Age, Ice Shield. Click. Click. This piece of air and the pirate ship were covered with ice and snow. Then, a layer of ice dozens of meters thick appeared above Aokiji and Shiryu, catching the heat from the explosion. Boom. A thunderous explosion resounded, and the heat breath hit the ice shield, making a sizzling sound, and countless white water vapors erupted, and an extremely terrifying heat shock wave erupted, causing the air to burst. Even this piece of sea that was originally frozen, collapsed in an instant. From afar, the world seemed to be divided into 2 halves, with the heat wave on the top and the ice and snow below, just facing each other. 1 second, 3 seconds, 8 seconds, with the passage of time. Advertisement: the heat breath and the ice shield continued to carry out the most direct confrontation and explosion. Finally, after a minute, Kaido of the Beasts stopped his heat attack and looked at Kuzan excitedly. Kuzan, one of the 3 former Marine admirals, has progressed very quickly, especially for the development of frozen fruit, which seems to have reached an ultimate call. Seeing that Kaido of the Beasts had stopped attacking, Kuzan breathed a sigh of relief, no less horrified than Kaido of the Beasts. He can be absolutely sure, Kaido's strength after his resurrection is at its peak. Cool. The next moment, Kaido of the Beasts screamed violently and said, "Kuzan, your strength is not bad, I will come to play with you when I have time, after all, I am truly immortal now." Ma. 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 Charlotte Linlin grinned and said excitedly. Earning is false and seeing is true. Now we are going to hang out in New World. Let everyone know that the Emperor of the Sea is back. So, if you don't get out of the BIGMOM waters, prepare for the wrath from the predecessors of the 4 emperors. Swish. The voice did not fall. The blue dragon incarnated by Kaido of the Beasts flew away with a flick of his tail. For Kaido of the Beasts and Charlotte Linlin, who have just been resurrected, the most important thing to do is to take the time to show that they have been resurrected. Kaido and Aokiji started to tell Aokiji that even if we died once and resurrected, our strength is still the same, was at its peak. At the very least, they have to shake the New World. Wow, gone. Kaido and Charlotte Linlin are gone. Seeing this scene, the Cake Island was already a mess. The pirates of the Aokiji pirates were already frightened, and their legs were weak, and they involuntarily made a sound of the rest of their lives. The sea is about to shake. Unbelievable eyes flashed in Kuzan's eyes, and he muttered to himself solemnly. It's messed up, everything is messed up. 35. What on earth does this great ancestor, Luo Lei, want to do? Shiryu wiped the cold sweat from the palm of his hand and said, it's scary to be able to maintain the strength of the peak period after being resurrected. By the way, let me tell you another good news. Blackbeard, Garp, Sengoku, red-haired Shanks are all resurrected, and now naval headquarters should have been destroyed. Sudden, Kaido of the Beasts, who was far away, uttered another voice. After this sentence, the pirates of the Aokiji pirates such as Kuzan, Shiryu, Giza's Badgers, Van Oka, Abaro Pizarro, and Lafitte all felt their souls freeze, and flashes flashed in their minds, after a thought. This sea is going to be turned upside down, at the same time. As Kaido of the Beasts and Charlotte Linlin swagger around the New World. The whole New World started to riot, no one thought. The dead Kaido of the Beasts and Charlotte Linlin are actually resurrected. Among them, Vinsmoke Reiju, IG, Caesar Current and others who were on the Chocolate Island, after witnessing Kaido and Charlotte Linlin flying over from the sky not far away, were even more frightened and withdrew from the BIGMOM waters overnight. 3.6 However, when everyone has not recovered, the news of the world released newspapers to the whole sea, making not only the New World, but also the whole sea completely crazy and exploded. Shock. Ancestors of the Great Ocean. Luo Lei uses godlike ninjutsu to resurrect Kaido of the Beasts, Charlotte Linlin, Blackbeard, Garp, Sengoku, red-haired Shanks. Terrible. After resurrection, Blackbeard, Garp, Sengoku, redhead Shanks team up to destroy naval headquarters in New World. Suffocated. After Marine's former headquarters, Marineford was destroyed, New World's headquarters was also destroyed. Close double angle bracket. After a brief encounter between Kaido and Kuzan, the Aokiji pirates withdrew from the BIGMOM waters, and Kuzan, one of the 4 emperors, claimed that Kaido and Charlotte Linlin were at their peak. Close double angle bracket. Invincible. Ancestors of the Great Ocean, Luo Lei is not afraid of the Straw Hat Pirates, and he took the initiative to say that he would F***K Monkey D Luffy in one go. Close double angle bracket. When the newspapers spread all over the place. When many people saw the newspaper, their first reaction was that the ancestors of the sea started to do things again. The second reaction was to widen his eyes and let out a groaning sound. He could resurrect the dead, maintain his peak strength, and destroy the naval headquarters. What a miracle. In an instant, even the numb people who have been continuously shocked by the ancestors of the sea were once again shocked, and their hearts could not calm down at all. The commoners are still like this, not to mention the world government, major countries, the Straw Hat Pirates, the Crusaders, the Red Hair Pirates, the Revolutionary Army and other forces. Invisibly, the sea is completely messed up, and it has entered an unprecedented era of rampage dominated by the ancestors of the sea. Chapter 107 Can't help it, the 5 elders start to act, and Vegapunk finds the wrong guy. Holy Land Mariejois, inside the mighty hockey castle of the world government. A conference room on the top floor, the five elders sat there with their faces ashen, and no one spoke, which made the atmosphere extremely heavy. Originally, after learning from Lu Chi of the CPU that the Straw Hat Pirates had entered a rampant state, the 5 elders are looking forward to anything other than joy. Anyway, their world government and marine have entered a state of war, and they are on standby at any time. I wish the Straw Hat Pirates went to confront Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea. There is no chance to lose both, but as long as the Straw Hat Luffy is killed, the world government will never lose. Looking forward to it, things are going as expected. The Straw Hat Pirates attacked Wanokuni aggressively. However, at such a critical moment of watching the play, a shocking news came. The naval headquarters in New World was destroyed. It was none other than the dead red-haired Shanks, Blackbeard, Garp, Sengoku. Just after receiving Sakazuki's report, the five elders thought that Marshal Marine, Sakazuki was playing a prank. How could the dead be resurrected, and joined hands to destroy the naval headquarters? Wasn't it a joke? But when it was confirmed again and again, it was learned that everything had really happened, and the newspaper of the news of the world was also published. Not only the red-haired Shanks, Blackbeard, Garp, Sengoku were resurrected, but also Kaido of the Beasts and Charlotte Linlin is all resurrected. Boom. In an instant, the five elders who knew the truth showed extremely unbelievable expressions. In addition to being shocked, they felt that their souls were shaking slightly. What's the matter? Not only can the dead be resurrected, but their strength can also remain at their peak, and they have their own consciousness. But their bodies are controlled by the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei. How? How is this possible? But, the fact happened, the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei did it. The five elders really don't want to accept this. Originally, the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei's strength was enough to pervert. Now, he can keep resurrecting the dead powerhouses. How can we play? Can't play anymore. What made the five elders feel aggrieved and wanted to vomit blood was. After Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, was resurrected, no matter what he did, the world government would endure it and endure it again and again. As a result, the ancestors of the sea were good. After resurrecting the red-haired Shanks, Blackbeard, Garp, and Sengoku, the first thing was to let this force comparable to the four emperors destroy the naval headquarters of the New World. This is not a proper way to fight Marine in the face of the world government? Well now, the pressure has come to the world government again, which made the five elders want to cry. Now the whole sea has gone wild. After revealing that he can resurrect dead people, the whole sea is already in chaos. Now all forces have acquiesced. The sea has perfectly transitioned from the era of the great pirate to the era of the great ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei, 35. Damn it, what should our world government do? I do not know how long it has been. The five elders who were in silence only said one sentence, and I made a voice that suppressed grievance and anger one after another. For them, the current situation is not only aggravating the loss of control, but also has entered an era of rampage dominated by the ancestors of the sea, which invisibly further reduced the influence of the world government on the sea. We have to do it. Boom. With the sound of a knock on the table, the bald-headed five elders said with a gloomy expression. I can't bear it anymore, no need to bear it anymore, this great ancestor of the sea. Luo Lei is too deceiving, so he concentrated his efforts to kill it. 5. That's right. Another mustache five elders clenched his fists and said with gritted teeth. Master Yimu has put us into a state of combat readiness, we should be able to do it. Humph. Advertisement. The blonde five elders snorted coldly and said, if you endure any longer, you will really become a tortoise. Oh, you should calm down for a while. At this time, the five elders with the highest status, who had not spoken, sighed and said, it has already happened, even if we are angry to the ultimate level, we have to bear it for a while, and cannot make an assertion. Still endure? We really don't want to endure? Let's do it. Don't let the ancestors of the sea, Luo Lei, act recklessly. Laugh. Sudden, while the other 4-5 elders were still complaining. A wave of spatial fluctuations occurred, and Yimu, who had red pupils, a crown with 4 towering spikes, and a black cloak, appeared in the conference room with a horrified expression. No doubt, after learning that Kaido of the Beasts and others had been resurrected by the great ancestors of the sea, IM was also frightened. The current stage of the sea is really getting more and more outrageous, even if the ancestors of the sea resurrected themselves, and now even the dead can be resurrected, and Yimu, who has always been in the heart, has an unprecedented sense of crisis and fear. I can't keep calm anymore. Especially for the ninjutsu that revives the dead, IM also has the ultimate desire and greed in his heart. Once she can get this ninjutsu, doesn't it mean that many of the world government's powerhouses who have died long ago can be resurrected? Including some super top powerhouses who formed the world government more than 800 years ago? The more I think, the more excited, the more I think, the more excited. Invisibly, IM's heart that had not fluctuated for more than 800 years began to fluctuate violently, and she no longer wanted to bear it. There is nothing to say, the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei, she is determined. No one will do it. This time, she will dig out all the secrets of Luo Lei, even if it is to expose all the cards of the world government ruling the sea. Come out, do whatever it takes. Lord IM. Facing the elusive Imam Sama, the 5 elders, who were still arguing, did not dare to hesitate, and knelt on the ground in no particular order. Among them, the 5 elders, who had just spoken more excitedly, had cold sweats on their foreheads. It was obvious that some were afraid of Lord Yimu. Scold. Okay, you don't have to be angry and complain. Bring CP0's high-end combat power and Seraph, go to meet Marine, and then wait for my order. Yimu suppressed the impulse in his heart and said indifferently, this time, let the whole Dahai see how terrible the world government, which has ruled Dahai for more than 800 years, is full of firepower. Understood. Yes, Lord IM. Okay, we'll go covertly to meet Marine right away. Lord IM, we will not disappoint you. 66. Hearing this sentence, the 5 elders, who were still afraid of punishment at first, relaxed in their hearts, their cheeks showed surprises, and they made a sound of incomparable excitement. How many years, they finally had a chance to make a move. Don't worry about Vegapunk for the time being. The next moment, IM thought for a moment, and then said slowly, let the CPO focus on the Straw Hat Pirates. I don't think Straw Hat Luffy will die so easily. After all, Joey Boy is not a fuel saver. The lights. T. Hearing about Joey Boy, the 5 elders wisely didn't ask any more questions and nodded hastily. Well, you can act first. Laugh. After saying this, advertisement immediately disappeared into the conference room with a wave of space fluctuations. T. We can finally leave Mariejois. After Lord Yimu left, the 5 elders all stood up, with undisguised fighting intent and coldness in their eyes. World government's forbearance time is over, it's time to get real. At the same time, Eggtip Island in the future kingdom. The central area, a laboratory full of sci-fi futuristic styles. The 6 avatars of Vegapunk, Desire, Koku, Violence, Atlas, Knowledge, Pythagoras, Thinking, Edison, Evil, Lilith, and Jung, Shaka, are unprecedentedly gathered in together. The world government has already killed our body. There was a coldness in Kaku's eyes, and he said solemnly, CBO's Lu Chi, Stussy, Kaku chose to leave after the Straw Hat Pirates left for some reason. Otherwise, we will inevitably have a fierce battle. Speaking of which, Koku is obviously a little unhappy and angry. Their relationship with the world government is just an employment relationship. Now that Seraph has researched it, the world government just wants to kill the donkey and eat the truth. What a disgusting thing. More than a fierce battle, we may die. Atlas thought for a while before saying with a serious face, after entering the 5th gear, Luffy, one of the 4 Emperor's Straw Hats, is really terrifying. Hockey alone makes many high-tech machines on Eggtip Island. If it is damaged, once the CPU chooses to do it at that time, the consequences will be disastrous. No matter how powerful Straw Hat Luffy is, there is definitely no great ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei pervert. Edison showed a disdainful expression, and said in a highly respected 793 tone, using ninjutsu to bring the dead back to life is truly unheard of and unseen. It's terrifying. If Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, was a scientist, he would definitely become a scientist. A very good scientist. 5. It's a little scary indeed. Shaka nodded, with adoring eyes flashing in his eyes, and said, although our body has seen the life design diagram, but compared with the ninjutsu of the ancestors of the sea, which touches the profound meaning of the soul, maybe slightly inferior. 39. That's true. Lilith folded her hands on her chest, and said with a sense of sigh, with the ancestors of the sea, Luo Lei resurrecting the red-haired Shanks and others, the sea has entered the era of ancestors. 99. Leave that aside, what should we do now? After hearing these words, Pythagoras rubbed his head and said helplessly, after Eggtip Island was destroyed by Straw Hat Luffy, our research funding is again insufficient. Quiet. Speaking of lack of funds, Koku, Atlas, Edison, Lilith, and Shaka all became troubled. Their research is very expensive. In the past, the world government was willing to take advantage of it for the sake of researching Seraph. Now the relationship with the world government is obviously not right. Their research funding is once again stretched thin. It's so frustrating, or, are we looking for someone to take advantage of? After a few seconds, Lilith's eyes lit up and she said, the Great Ocean is about to fall into turmoil, and there will be a battle between the ancestors of the Great Ocean, the world government, and the Straw Hat Pirates. We will go to whoever wins, and use some of our latest research results in exchange for cooperation. Even if the world government wins, do you still go? Eddie said in a pointed way. Sure. Lilith shrugged helplessly, and said bitterly, if the world government wins, it will prove that the world government's strength is not as simple as imagined. Apart from choosing cooperation again, do we still have room for bargaining? Let's see who has the last laugh in this great turmoil. Agree. Chapter 108 Luffy. I want to form the Straw Hat League. New World, on a calm sea, the Sunny of the Straw Hat Pirates is facing off against the Red Force of the Red Hair Pirates. On the deck of the Sunny, the Straw Hat Luffy stared blankly at Uda on the Red Force deck, without speaking. His eyes were filled with undisguised anger and coldness. He wants revenge. He is going to Wanokuni to seek revenge for Luo Lei, the most sinful ancestor of the sea. Since East Blue, the Straw Hat Luffy has never been so angry and irritable as he is today. The actions of that great ancestor, Luo Lei, have successfully touched his bottom line and scales, angering him. Especially when I think of the Empress who has a good relationship with me on the pirate ship of the ancestors of the sea. My grandfather was killed, the red-haired Shanks was killed, the Dragon Palace Kingdom changed hands, Shirahoshi was also kidnapped, plus Peach was also tortured, and Yamato didn't seem to answer his phone calls. A series of things, in addition to heartache. Straw Hat Luffy is anger, uncontrollable anger. Therefore, even if he knew that the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei, was very strong, very pervert and terrifying, he did not have any fear or hesitation. After leaving Egg Point Island, he flew towards Wanokuni at a very fast speed. However, halfway through, the pirate ship of the Straw Hat Pirates was intercepted by Red Hair Pirates. Luffy, you really can't go to Wanokuni. Uda glanced at Luffy, who no longer had any smile, and said with a heavy tone. The ancestors of the sea are in full swing. You can only die when you go. I'm not afraid. After hearing this, Luffy clenched his fist and said coldly, Sister Uda, there are some things that must be done. I am the man who wants to be the Pirate King. How can I shrink back and be afraid? Even if I die, I will let the sea the ancestors paid the price. Don't you want to avenge Shanks? After saying this. Seems to be out of control. Luffy's body burst out with an undisguised aura of coercion. Of course I want to. Uda's beautiful eyes flashed a ray of pain, letting the sea breeze pass over his cheeks, and said bitterly, but I don't want to watch you go to death. Listening to my sister's advice, you are really fighting now. But the ancestors of the sea, Luo Lei, let's find a place first and take a long-term plan. Rest assured, I will win. 35 Luffy took a deep breath and said in a dazed manner. I will definitely win, I will definitely, 99. K. In the face of Luffy, who was like two people compared to before. Uda was a little dazed, and felt a little strange for the first time, that positive and optimistic, who attaches great importance to partners and friends, does not kill for the pursuit of wealth, but enjoys the adventure and freedom of being a pirate. Luffy boy Luffy, where did it go? Could it be that hatred can really make people lose their minds and go completely crazy? Can't figure it out. Uda has something to think about. Out of desperation, Uda could only look at Nami, Robin, Zoro, Sanji and others with a helpless look, and wanted these Luffy's partners and friends to persuade Luffy not to be so impulsive and be carried away by hatred. It's a pity. Nami, Robin, Zoro, Sanji and others all showed expressions of helplessness. Advertisement even Chopper keeps his head down, actually. After leaving Egg Tip Island angrily, Nami, Robin, Zoro, Sanji and others also realized that they couldn't go to Wanokuni so rashly, otherwise the revenge has not been reported, and the Straw Hat Pirates may even be destroyed by the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei. He tried to dissuade Luffy, let him calm down a little, plan well first, and then take action. But he was rejected by Luffy without emotion. Anyway, no matter who discouraged him, Luffy did not show the slightest smile. He was very violent and ruthless. Invisibly, Nami, Robin, Zoro, Sanji and others felt that Luffy seemed to have changed. One person. Since I can't persuade, the Straw Hat Pirates can only bite the bullet and go to Wanokuni. In my heart, I can only expect a miracle to happen, just like defeating the Invincible Beast's pirates, defeating the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei. Let's go. Seeing that Uda was no longer speaking, Luffy crossed his arms and said solemnly, we continue to set off for Wanokuni. A look of resoluteness flashed across Uda's pretty face, and she scolded angrily, saying, if you want to go, then I will go with you, it's a big deal to die together. Boo, boo. The voice just fell, the phone bug on Uda's waist suddenly rang. Uda frowned and connected the phone bug. Uda, have you intercepted the Straw Hat Pirates? The phone bug, from Beckman's horrified voice, intercepted. Uda said in a disappointed tone. But Luffy couldn't listen to the persuasion at all, and was still very determined to go to Wanokuni. You stand next to Luffy. I have a big thing to tell you, Beckman said in an unbelievable tone. Because of the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei, now the sea has completely run away. What? Swish. With a cracking sound, knowing the urgency of the matter, Uda stood on the deck of the Sunny in a flash and stood beside Luffy. To this, Luffy's expression still didn't change. There is a kind of meaning that no matter what, I want to take revenge. Uda, Luffy, you all listen to me. On the other end of the phone bug, Beckman took a deep breath and said, I just received a shocking news. Luo Lei, Captain Redhead, Blackbeard, Garp, Sengoku, Kaido of the Beasts, Charlotte Linlin all resurrected. 99. The naval headquarters of the New World has been destroyed by Captain Redhead, Blackbeard, Garp, Sengoku. Kaido of the Beasts also fought Kuzan. It is said that after the resurrection, Garp, Sengoku and others have their bodies controlled by Luo Lei. Their strength is at a peak, and even if their bodies are severely injured, they can restore their original immortality. Advertisement, now the entire sea has exploded, and the major powers have tacitly agreed that the sea has entered the era of the ancestors of the sea. After saying this, Beckman's tone was distinctly vibrato. No way, he didn't even think I stayed at the base camp of Red Hair Pirates, and I actually received such a shocking news. Therefore, without any hesitation, he called Uda's phone bug and notified her immediately. If the Straw Hat Pirates were intercepted, he would also notify Luffy by the way. It's not too late to watch. The other side, quiet. Hear Beckman's voice. There was a moment of silence on the deck. Even Luffy, who was in a state of hatred, showed a look of surprise. Not to mention the other people, their cheeks were already full of disbelief and extreme astonishment, and their hearts were like overturned rivers and seas, and they couldn't calm down at all. What's the situation? The red-haired Shanks, Blackbeard, Garp, and Sengoku who were killed by the ancestors of the sea were all resurrected, and they still have the strength of their peak? Such an unexpected thing makes everyone can't believe it at all, but, listening to Beckman's tone, it doesn't seem like a joke, it means that everything is true. Ancestors of the sea, Luo Lei really has the ability to resurrect the dead. 66. I know you don't believe it, but that's the truth. If you pass by the commercial island, you can read the newspaper. The phone bug, seemingly aware that Luffy and the others were in shock, Beckman added meaningfully. Luffy, if you really want revenge, you have to be well prepared instead of rashly going to Wanokuni. Send to death. If the resurrected Garp and the red-haired Shanks see you swept away by anger and take the initiative to die, I'm afraid it will not be more disappointing and painful. So, you have to prove yourself. Boom, after this sentence. There was a loud bang in Luffy's mind, and his body trembled a few times. The great-grandfather actually resurrected Grandpa Garp and the red-haired Shanks, and when he thought of the great-great-grandfather, Luo Lei controlling his grandfather and the red-haired Shanks, Luffy's anger rose to full value. Must not let them down, they may also expect me to defeat the ancestors of the sea. Wait a minute, the power of the Straw Hat Pirates is too weak. But, You can form a Super Straw Hat Alliance, concentrate the forces that you can unite, and then take revenge? Chapter 109 Standing on the Commanding Heights of Justice. Wait a minute, the power of the Straw Hat Pirates is too weak. But, you can form a Super Straw Hat Alliance, concentrate the strength you can unite, and then go for revenge? Thinking of this, the eyes of Luffy, who was still in anger, lit up, and his heart suddenly became clear. Since East Blue has risen, he has many friends. Now the ancestor of the sea. Luo Lei is so unscrupulous and arrogant. Ultimately, it has become the target of public criticism. Unity is strength, as long as I can stand up and raise my arms. Standing on the commanding heights of justice, you can definitely get a response from all parties. At that time, if we go to Wanokuni to fight Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, the winning rate will definitely increase greatly. At the same time, is this too scary? What kind of monster is Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, who can resurrect the dead? 39. It's unbelievable. No, absolutely can't go to Wanokuni, the ancestor of the sea. Luo Lei's strength is very pervert, and now he can revive so many strong people. It's completely impossible to fight. When Straw Hat Luffy fell into deep thought, Nami, Robin, Zoro, Sanji, Jinbei and others involuntarily made a horrified voice after the initial 830 shock and disbelief. Obviously, they never thought, the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei actually mastered the secret technique of resurrecting the dead. If they don't know about this, they still have hope in their hearts that a miracle will happen. Now, there's another miracle of the hammer. Resurrected Redhead Shanks, Blackbeard, Garp, Sengoku, Kaido of the Beasts, Charlotte Linlin can kill the Straw Hat Pirates. Can't go to Wanokuni, never go to Wanokuni Egg to touch stone. For a time, Nami, Robin, Zoro, Sanji, Jinbei and others all looked at each other, and they all reached a tacit understanding with each other. They must not let Luffy be dazzled by anger. Send to death. Robin's heart is actually the most complicated and broken. She never thought that the man who created a blank year of history would be so reckless after resurrection. Advertisement. If she had known earlier, she should have focused on studying the blank one-year history, so that she might have learned a little about the weakness of Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea. It's good now, in the face of true strength, what is the use of studying more historical texts? Papa Shanks has been resurrected. Uda also gradually came back to his senses, and clenched his fists in anger. A ray of tears could not help overflowing in his eyes. No matter what, she won't let Dad down. Luffy, she's been intercepted, and it's not easy for anyone to come. Well, in that case, we won't go to Wanokuni for the time being. However, just at this time, Luffy, who was almost crazy just now, had cold eyes slightly, took a deep breath, and said unexpectedly, "It's definitely difficult for us to fight the current ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei, so I decided to build a Straw Hat. The Big Alliance, uniting the forces of all parties, to deal with the ancestors of the sea." 35. What? Luffy, you mean to form a major league? If our Straw Hat Pirates take the initiative to stand up, maybe we can really unite some forces and jointly deal with the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei. Before they finished speaking, Nami, Robin, Zoro, Sanji, Jinbei and others couldn't help but stun for a while, as if they had thought of something. They all showed a thoughtful expression. They knew exactly what Luffy meant, that is to use the influence of the Straw Hat Pirates in the sea and some personal connections to form a big alliance against the ancestors of the sea. This is undoubtedly much higher than the success rate of the Straw Hat Pirates going to Wanokuni alone to face the ancestors of the sea. Among them, there is a ray of light in Uda's eyes, and forming a Straw Hat League may be really big chance to win. Alas, facing the prosperous BJDG, ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei, this may be the best choice. On the other end of the phone bug, Beckman pondered for a moment before sighing. You guys come back quickly. Next, it's time for us to show our swords. It is good. Luffy and Uda nodded in no particular order, resolute expressions flashing across their faces. Advertisement. This time, they will also shake the sea. Start a super war bigger than the Summit War, the next day. When the sea is still in the shock of the red-haired Shanks, Blackbeard and others being resurrected. The Straw Hat Pirates of the Four Emperors class and the Red Hair Pirates jointly released a statement that made the whole sea boil. The approximate content is, the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei, after his resurrection, recklessly did whatever he wanted with his powerful strength, without any bottom line. He also resurrected some dead powerhouses, wantonly trampling on their dignity. All kinds of extremely bad behavior, the sea is turbulent, and countless civilians are frightened. The whole sea can be described as a bitter ancestor for a long time. Based on this, the Straw Hat Pirates and Red Hair Pirates will form a Straw Hat Alliance. All forces are invited to join in to fight the ancestors of the sea, Luo Lei. Boom! As soon as the statement came out, the sea, which was still in a state of vibration, exploded in an instant. Because, no one thought, after the sea has entered the era of the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei. The Straw Hat Pirates did not go to Wanokuni, but took the initiative to speak up, to form a big alliance of Straw Hats to fight the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei. This is the rhythm of going to the end with Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea? What is even more terrifying is that this statement has indeed touched many underground dark forces and the pain points of the major pirate groups. In the face of the unscrupulous Luo Lei, Everyone dared to be angry and did not dare to speak. Patiently. Now with the Straw Hat Pirates and Red Hair Pirates leading the way. As a result, some forces who were afraid of the great strength of Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, began to become active in their hearts. After all, the ancestors of the sea, Luo Lei can do whatever they want, and will not scruple and care about anyone, especially after entering the era of the ancestors of the sea. Luo Lei has vaguely become the ancestor standing on the heads of the major forces. Not only did not dare to provoke, but also be careful, for fear that the ancestors of the sea would be unhappy and unreasonably kill the quartet. Therefore, in this situation, countless underground dark forces on the sea, major pirate groups, various countries, etc., have begun to pay attention to the Straw Hat Alliance, wanting to see which forces will join first. For a time, the Straw Hat Pirates and Red Hair Pirates became the focus of the entire sea. Chapter 110: The Straw Hat League with no two in the limelight. New World, the cross guild of one of the 4 Emperor's regiments. In the conference room, Hawkeye Mahawk, Crocodile, Buggy, Mr. 1 Daz Bonus, Mr. 3 Galdino and others all gathered together solemnly. Now there are no false 4 emperors, real 4 emperors, because, after entering the era of the great ancestor Luo Lei, especially after the resurrection of Sengoku, Garp, red-haired Shanks, and Blackbeard, the 4 emperors have long since disappeared. There is a sense of oppression at the beginning. What 4 emperors rule the sea, and the heaven and earth surrender, not to mention, in front of the ancestors of the sea, it is a big joke, words. I really didn't expect that after the resurrection, the ancestors of the sea would be so pervert and actually resurrect Blackbeard, red-haired Shanks, Sengoku, Garp and others. Crocodile took a sigh of relief and said solemnly, with the strength of Wanokuni today, and without the world government making a sound, Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, has become the true uncrowned king of the sea. 35. ABAJ. A bitter look flashed in Mahawk's sharp eyes, and he sighed. I really don't know how the resurrected redhead feels. Before his death, he was the emperor who reigned over the sea, but after being resurrected, he became a physically unaffected person. The controlled puppet, this huge gap, perhaps suffering every moment. It must be hard for the redheads, but the situation for our cross-unions is also very difficult. Hearing these words, Buggy said, extremely depressed. As Marine becomes more and more sloppy and wicked, and the ancestors of the sea become more powerful and domineering, our trade union's business of offering bounties to Marine can no longer be carried out. All right. In fact, even Buggy didn't think of it. The hidden boss of the world government I am and the ancestor of the sea Luo Lei fought each other in the air, but their cross-union suffered, and their business could not be carried out at all. Those pirates are now frightened by the power of the ancestors of the sea, and they are also afraid of taking action against Marine. This. A series of chain reactions, invisibly making the just-established cross-trade union on the verge of bankruptcy again. Wait a minute, if it closes down, then am I free? Suddenly. Buggy reacted with hindsight. On the surface, he was calm, but inside he figured it out all of a sudden, and he was happy. He had already had enough of Mahawk and Crocodile. If the cross-society went bankrupt, is not a bad thing either. As for Mr. 1 Daz Bonus, Mr. 3 Galdino, and others, listening to these words, and thinking of what happened in the sea recently, they all lowered their heads cautiously, even in the air. Not even breathing. They did not dare to participate in the discussion, lest the city gate catch fire and bring disaster to Chiyu, which would be an unwarranted disaster. Or, let's answer Straw Hat Luffy's call. At this time, the eagle-eyed Mahawk took a deep breath, seemed to have made a decision, and said in a firm tone. The ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei, is too unscrupulous. He doesn't put anyone in his eyes. It is better to take the initiative. Call. Crocodile exhaled a puff of white smoke. His eyes fluctuated in the smoke, and finally, after a moment of indifference, he nodded and said coldly, whether it is the world government, or the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei, we can't provoke the Crusaders. From now on, join the Straw Hat League, at least have the ability to resist. 995. Then it's decided. Neither Hawkeye Mahawk nor Crocodile asked for the opinions of Buggy and the others, and they simply settled the plan to join the Straw Hat Major League. As for the dialogue between the two, Buggy, who was still dreaming about the dissolution of the Cross Union, was stunned. There was no expression on the surface, but his heart was sad to ultimate. Advertisement, did you make a mistake? He really doesn't want to join some shitty Straw Hat League, and he doesn't even want to face the ancestors of the sea, Luo Lei. But, because of Mahawk and Crocodile, Buggy didn't show it, but instead said actively, then I will announce to the public that the Crusaders will respond to the call of the Straw Hat Pirates and will join the Straw Hat League. Okay. Hawkeye Mahawk and Crocodile nodded in unison. There was no fear on their cheeks, but a little excitement. They all knew very well that once this statement was issued, the Cross Union would blatantly choose to stand in the Straw Hat Pirates and stand in opposition to Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea. But, so what? The way is different, and they are different. As the famous big pirates, will they be afraid? Not afraid. Even if the strength of the ancestors of the sea is very strong, they will be done. New World, a calm sea. The polar diver is sailing at a constant speed on the sea. Boss, what should we do now? 35. The Straw Hat Pirates team up with Red Hair Pirates to form a Straw Hat Alliance against the Great Ocean's ancestor, Luo Lei. 5. I really didn't expect that Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, could actually resurrect the dead, and ordered Blackbeard, Redhead, Garp, and Sengoku to destroy naval headquarters. A series of operations made the scalp tingle. On the deck, the pirates of the Hard Pirates looked at the newspapers in their hands, their cheeks were full of shock and disbelief, and some weaker people even had cold sweats on their foreheads. Listen to these words. Trafalgar Law, who was leaning on the side of the ship, showed a troubled expression. It's only the last step away from the big secret treasure, but so many big things have happened. The ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei, is really too hateful. When I think of the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei, who has the ninjutsu of resurrecting the dead, and the style of doing whatever he wants, Trafalgar Law's heart is trembling. How can such a super pervert appear in the sea? Luffy, you owe me another favor. It didn't take long for Trafalgar Law's eyes to flash a ray of perseverance, and he simply ordered, return at full speed. We respond to Straw Hat Luffy's call and join the Straw Hat League. AB, yes. The pirates of the Hard Pirates were stunned for a moment, then nodded in no particular order. For Flowers, nothing to be surprised about. With the steely relationship of old Yamato Luffy, it is normal to respond to the call of the Straw Hat Pirates. The only pity is that the time to find the big treasure has to be delayed again. And in another sea, the Victoria Punk is at sea. Ha ha ha, 99, Redhead Shanks, you have today too? I was killed by Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, and then resurrected as a puppet of a toolman. Thinking about it is a bit funny, right? Advertisement accompanied by a sound of laughter. An undisguised sarcastic expression appeared on Kid's cheeks. But as the smile fades away, Kid clenched his fists, the expression on his cheek became hesitant. I'm really happy that you killed the red-haired Shanks and then brought him back to life to play with him. A cold look flashed in Kid's eyes, and he muttered to himself, but, you should never mess with the Straw Hat Pirates. I'm sorry. Now Straw Hat Luffy raises his arms. A response is required. 39. Zero thinking of this, Kid gestured with his right hand and ordered. Let's go back, go to the Straw Hat Pirates, and join the Straw Hat League. Yes, Captain Kid. A pirate from the Kid Pirates responded loudly. The next day, under the spotlight, Buggy, one of the current 4 emperors, directly announced that the Cross Guild will respond to the call of the Straw Hat Pirates and the Red Hair Pirates to join the Straw Hat League. Boom. As soon as the news came out, the sea shook violently again. No one thought. The first to respond was the 4 emperors level Power Cross Guild. The second one to make a statement was the Aokiji Pirates, one of the 4 emperors' pirates, who also announced to join the Straw Hat Alliance. Immediately afterwards, the Hard Pirates and the Kid Pirates also issued a statement saying that they would join the Straw Hat Alliance and the Straw Hat Pirates to advance and retreat together. As soon as these 3 statements came out, it was like a fuse, causing a series of chain reactions. As a result, the sea has been continuously announced to join the Straw Hat League, such as the former deputy captain of the Roger Pirates, known as the One Piece Right Wrist, Pluton Rayleigh, the king of Loan Sharks Feld, the Sea King Umit, Big Hand Undertaker, Pycro, etc., seem to have reached some kind of tacit agreement and announced to join the Straw Hat League. Besides, there are also some countries that secretly provided a large amount of materials to the Straw Hat League because the world government did not issue a statement. In addition, the Bardo Club of the Straw Hat Big Fleet, the Junmei Pirates, the 8 Treasures Marine Corps, the Edio Pirates, the Dantata Pirates, the New Giants Pirates, and the Hoda Maria Big Fleet are also in succession. Response. For a time, the Straw Hat League is the most popular in the sea and has become the focus of the entire sea. Chapter 111 Akainu. The ancestors killed Luffy like killing a dog. New World, Marineg-2 headquarters, that's right. After Marineg-1 headquarters was destroyed by Garp, Sengoku, Blackbeard, Red-Haired Shanks, Marshall, Sakazuki chose Marineg-2 branch as the new naval headquarters. Maybe it's too late. Compared with the destroyed Marineg-1, the Marineg-2 headquarters is much simpler and in poorer conditions. At this time, inside a conference room at the top of the fortress, the five elders, the army commander Kong, the Marines Marshal Sakazuki, the 3 Admiral Green Bull, Kizaru, Fujitora, the Dark Horse of the Criminal Investigation Bureau, the Crane Staff, and the 6 chiefs of the CPO all gathered together. Maybe no one speaks. The atmosphere in the conference room was extremely depressing. In particular, the expressions of the Marine executives headed by Sakazuki were almost gloomy. Obviously, after Marine G, 830 inches 1 headquarters was destroyed, their hearts were extremely unhappy and uncomfortable, and they have not calmed down until now. This time the Marine G1 headquarters was destroyed. I don't blame you, but the ancestors of the sea, Luo Lei, for playing cards that are too unreasonable. Seemingly aware of the wrong mood of the Marine executives, the bald 5 elders said with a serious look. Your choice to abandon the Marine G1 headquarters is the right choice. Even if it's the right choice, I can't stand it anymore. Boom. The voice did not fall. Sakazuki, who has always been gloomy, slammed the table and said angrily. The ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei, is really deceiving people too much. We Marine and him will never die. When it comes to this, there seems to be some gaffe. A majestic heat wave poured out of Sakazuki's body. But there are some high-end combat forces present. So, I didn't feel anything, only Kong smiled with empathy. He knew very well what exactly Akainu was angry about. After taking the position of Marshal, he had no other achievements, so he changed 2 naval headquarters and killed 3 high-end combat powers. Advertisement. Nothing can be described as a perfect fit. Sakazuki, we understand your mood, please calm down first. Feeling this heatwave, the bearded 5 elders frowned and said, this time we are here at naval headquarters to make final preparations. Yup, the blonde 5 elders stretched and then gave a slow sigh. We haven't done it for almost 100 years, and after so long, it's really not easy to wait for someone worthy of our shot. You haven't touched it for hundreds of years? Upon hearing this, everyone in the meeting couldn't help but raise their brows. After all, if they haven't done anything for 100 years, doesn't that mean that the 5 elders are at least 100 years old, and their strength can still maintain their peak? You don't have to doubt, we have indeed lived for hundreds of years. The blonde 5 elders looked straight and said in a tone full of admiration. Everything is given by Lord Byam. Related to world government's hidden boss, Lord IM, 99. After hearing this sentence, everyone in the conference room showed a sudden realization, and the doubts in their hearts disappeared. After all, the mysterious and unpredictable Lord Yimu destroys a country with a single move. Her ability and strength are beyond doubt. Okay, let's wrap up the story about the destruction of naval headquarters, and now let's talk about the Straw Hats. At this time, the highest-ranking 5 elders who had never spoken picked up a piece of information in his hand, threw it on the table, and said, the Straw Hat Alliance is absorbing the Cross Guild, the Aokiji Pirates, the Kid Pirates. The group, the Hard Pirates. After that, it has become a super huge organization. Right now, the Straw Hat League is the best in the ocean. After saying this, the 5 elders with the highest status also paused and said, it shouldn't be long before the Straw Hats will launch an attack on Wanokuni. It's scary. Hearing this sentence, Kizaru said with a crooked mouth, the Straw Hat League is going to start a battle that will affect the entire sea. The Straw Hat Major League is very strong on paper, but I don't know if it can cause a little trouble to Wanokuni. After Dark Horse took a cup of tea and took a sip, he said solemnly, once we can lose both, it will be very beneficial to us. I find it difficult, no one knows the true strength of the ancestors of the sea. Advertisement. Fujitora hesitated, then added, what if the great ancestor, Luo Lei, not only resurrects Blackbeard, Redhead Shanks, Sengoku, Garp, Kaido of the Beasts, Charlotte Linlin? Impossible. A CPO chief wearing a cat face mask said in a cold tone. This kind of ninjutsu to resurrect the dead should have some kind of limit. If it can be resurrected infinitely, wouldn't the sea be in chaos? Now the sea is in chaos. 95. The green cow showed a disdainful smile and said in a meaningful way. It may not be possible for other people, but I think it is really possible for Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, to be able to perform infinitely the kind of resurrection of the dead. Of ninjutsu. Green cow. What do you mean? The chief CPO wearing a cat face mask was immediately upset. What can I mean? Green Bull shrugged indifferently and said, it's just telling the truth. If you're not convinced, you can go to Wanokuni and ask the ancestors of the sea in person? Okay, tell me a little less. Just when the chief CPO wearing a cat face mask was about to say something, he was interrupted sharply by the bald-headed 5 elders. Humph. The CPO chief who wore a cat face mask gritted his teeth and snorted coldly, and the remaining 5 CPO chiefs did not speak. They felt very excited when they spoke at Marine's sight. And at this time, Marine's Marshal, Sakazuki glanced at the 6 CPO chiefs indifferently, and said, Straw Hat Luffy has grown very fast, but I always have a feeling that the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei, would kill him like killing a dog. Even if he can enter the Nika form, he may be killed simply and neatly. No. Sakazuki, words 3.6 can't say that, others may not have a chance to win, but the Straw Hat Luffy may really make the ancestors of the sea suffer a defeat. After drinking a cup of tea, the bearded 5 elders said meaningfully, the sun god Nika is not as simple as he imagined. Even Lord Yimu is afraid, and Joy Boy may have awakened, it just hasn't shown up yet. It's all about 100 years of blank history, and all in all Monkey D. Luffy is a guy who can do wonders. Quiet. After this sentence, the meeting room fell into a moment of silence. It has something to do with the blank 100-year history, which means that things may be really troublesome. Chapter 112. Kaido. You call me dad, I call you an adult. But if the Straw Hat League can really cause trouble for the ancestors of the sea, that would be beneficial to them in the world government. When the Snipe and Muscles compete, the fishermen will benefit. Maybe they can be the fisherman who hides behind, and come here to kill 3 birds with 1 stone, and the winner will take all. Therefore, under the circumstance that the Mustache 5 elders said so clearly, the people present were not fools or idiots. Of course, they knew what the 5 elders wanted to do. They all showed thoughtful expressions. Without saying anything, they nodded silently. By the way, there are some countries that secretly support the Straw Hat League, should we warn you? 35. Suddenly, the Dark Horse seemed to have thought of something, and said in a meaningful way, these countries have joined the world government on the surface, but secretly they have secretly communicated with the Straw Hat League, which is really a wishful thinking. Do you think these countries are only secretly playing with the Straw Hats? After hearing this, a CPO chief who didn't intend to speak at first couldn't help but retorted. There are some countries that are very shrewd, how about betting on the 3 parties? Not only did they support the Straw Hat League, but also secretly gave Wanokuni. A lot of supplies were sent. 35. The Dark Horse's expression suddenly froze? After the naval headquarters was destroyed, he was too late to deal with some news and information, and now he was slapped in the face in public. Yeah? The next moment, the Dark Horse smiled shyly, and said in a low voice. It doesn't matter, anyway, it's just a piece of shit. Whoever has the last laugh will follow whoever, it doesn't matter. $77. At this time, the 5 elders with the best status took a deep breath and said, the situation in the sea is complicated and changeable, the major forces will sing and I will appear, but our world government rules the sea. More than 100 years. So, no matter what, our world government will have the last laugh. After saying this, the five elders got up and left the conference room in no particular order. Humph. The 6 CPO chiefs snorted coldly, and left the conference room impatiently without looking at the marine executives. For the time being, Sakazuki glanced disdainfully at the chief of the 6 CPOs who went out, took a deep breath, and said solemnly. With the 5 elders taking the lead, we don't have to worry, just obey the order. 5. Advertisement. Green Bull, Fujitora, Kizaru, and Dark Horse all nodded. Alas. 35 only staff officer. He let out a faint sigh, with a hint of disappointment in his eyes, and then got up and left the office. Garp, after all, your grandson is still alive and well. Even if I am not killed by Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, I will be killed by the 5 elders of the world government. I really can't do anything. Maybe you, a grandfather, he will also witness the scene of his grandson being killed. And Sakazuki looked at the departing staff and didn't say anything. There are many things that must be done. This Straw Hat Luffy should have been killed long ago. Now that he has grown into 4 emperors, he raised his arms and formed the Straw Hat Alliance. It would be even more dead, even if Garp was still alive, he couldn't keep it. The turmoil caused by the Straw Hat Major League continues. Almost every day, I can hear that some forces have joined it. At the beginning, there may be some elites, and then some messy Yuki snake gods have joined, and the number has swelled to almost 300,000. And when the miscellaneous people gathered together, all kinds of problems appeared. To this end, it almost caused infighting in the Straw Hat Major League. Fortunately, at a critical moment, the vice-captains of Red Hair Pirates, Beckman, Hawkeye Mahawk, Crocodile, Pluton Rayleigh, etc. stood out and mercilessly killed thousands of people who were involved in the Straw Hat Major League. Live the situation. Then, Straw Hat Luffy became the leader of the Straw Hat Major League under the recommendation of everyone. The first order issued was to reduce the number of people in the Straw Hat Alliance, and finally reduce the number of people around 300,000 to 10,000. So far, the Straw Hat Major League is officially formed, and began to show his sharp fangs to the whole sea. Wanokuni, in the face of the Straw Hat League, which has caused turmoil in the sea. It has not been affected in the slightest, and many countries have secretly sent countless supplies, which has made Wanokuna's development reach a small peak. Flower capital, inside the palace in the central area. Advertisement. Luo Lei was counting the loot that the red-haired Shanks and others had collected from naval headquarters. He didn't even look at the gold and silver treasures, only 8 devil fruits were left. As for the attributes, Luo Lei didn't bother to look at it. He didn't need it anyway, so it was absorbed by the system. The Straw Hat Major League, does this mean that I want to kill you all? Soon, after the inventory was completed, Luo Lei picked up an intelligence document in his hand, glanced at it quickly, and threw it on the table, muttering to himself. Straw Hat Luffy, I didn't come to you, but if you take the initiative to do things, then I'm sorry. This time, I'll let you know what it's really like to do whatever you want. Boom. But, just then, there was a knock on the door. Come in. 830. Luo Lei felt it for a moment, and gave a plain order. Lord Luo Lei. Kaido of the Beasts opened the door, walked in carelessly, and asked, the Straw Hat League has been established, when will we assemble? Don't assemble. The corner of Luo's mouth was slightly raised, and he said calmly, let the bullet fly for a while, this time I want to let the whole sea know what the real ancestor of the sea is. Kaido of the Beast's eyes lit up, and he understood in seconds. By the way, Lord Luo Lei. The next moment, Kaido of the Beasts showed a rare expression of embarrassment, opened his mouth, wanted to say something, but couldn't. If you have something to say, if you have a fart, let it go. Luo Lei helplessly shook his head and scolded. Lord Luo Lei, from now on, whether I can discuss with you, I will call you Lord, and you will call me Dad. Boom. It's not over yet, a cracking sound resounded. Kaido of the Beast's body fell outside the flower capital in a parabola, with a deafening roar. Chapter 113. Ancestors who must report flaws, the ambition of the third template, one more kneeling for subscription. Outside the flower capital, inside a huge pothole. Kaido of the Beasts was lying here helplessly, looking up at the blue sky. He just wanted to try a little, but was slapped by Lord Luo Lei. Failed. After all, his own daughter Yamato is not worthy of Lord Luo Lei. Do not. Lord Luo Lei doesn't like being big. In fact, for his daughter's series of backstabbing and filial piety, it is false that he is not angry, but tiger poison does not eat children. He is not only the 4 emperors who rule the sea, but also a father. So, at the beginning, no matter what Yamato did, he chose to forgive if he could, even if he secretly allied with Luffy, he didn't take it to heart. His plan is to completely defeat the Straw Hat Luffy, which should make his daughter, Yamato, wake up. But the plan can't keep up with the changes. The end result is that he is defeated by the crazy Straw Hat Luffy. Now Lord Luo Lei is on Wanokuni, and he swept the Kazuki clan with a destructive force, killing the Elephant Master, the red-haired Shanks, Kazuki Sukiyaki, Momosuke, and accidentally awakening his own daughter. So that after his resurrection, in addition to being ashamed and regretful, Yamato has been kneeling in front of his door for 10 days and 10 nights, with a mace on his back, quite a kind of guilt. To this, Kaido of the Beasts was initially unimpressed. But, with the passage of time, his heart, the old father who reigned over the sea, was still a little soft. In order to completely reassure Yamato, he planned to find a good home for Yamato. After thinking about it, he finally decided to hit Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea. As for age, except for the more than 40 years when Lord Luo Lei died, the real age, in fact, is only about 19 years old, so it is not a problem at all. Therefore, his heart is like a clear mirror. Rather than being cheap to others, it is better to choose a man like Mr. Luo Lei who is destined to become the king of the world. Well planned, the results were somewhat unsatisfactory. Advertisement: it's okay, children and grandchildren have their own children and grandchildren. I am a person who has died once, and I still struggle so much about what to do. After a few minutes, Kaido's eyes changed for a while, but in the end it turned into a violent look. Now that the Straw Hat Luffy has become the leader of the Straw Hat Alliance, and the world government and Marine are hiding behind them, it is foreseeable that a war that will decide the future direction of the sea is about to break out. This time, no matter what, he will burst into a frenzy and try to participate in it as much as possible. He can no longer be too weak like the Battle of the Valley of the Gods more than 40 years ago, and can only be a spectator. The other side, Luo Lei hardly paid much attention to what Kaido of the Beast said. What else are you talking about? You call me an adult, and I call you dad. Isn't this a joke? Simply put, Yamato, is it worthy? At least, right now he really has no interest in Yamato. The only thing he can't figure out is that Kaido of the Beasts has forgiven his daughter Yamato again. It can only be said that even the strongest creatures who are moody and advocating violence have their own soft and weak places in their hearts. When the redhead and others come back, I can also make the last step of planning. Not long after, Luo Lei restrained his thoughts, and a playful smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. He is very flawed and must be repaid. Those who besieged him more than 40 years ago thought that if they died, they could kill 100. No, even if you die, Laozi will dig up your graves, and impure world reincarnation will resurrect you. Let you know that even after more than 40 years, Laozi is still rampant and does whatever he wants. I don't want that much anymore. It's still a template to unlock the integration of peak Motherlanders. As long as one's strength is strong enough, any Straw Hat League or world government will only be crushed. Thinking of this, Luo Lei took out the box placed under the table and said silently, "System, how many fusions can be unlocked by absorbing the energy of these 8 devil fruits?" Ding. Host, you can unlock 8% fusion. Okay, exchange it. After hearing this, Luo Lei nodded without hesitation. Ding. Congrats host, 8% of the experience has been redeemed. Ding. I hope the host will continue to work hard, follow his heart, not be bound, and do whatever he wants. Perfect. Advertisement listening to the prompts coming out of my head. Luo Lei clenched his fist and couldn't help showing a smile. With each unlocked fusion, the closer it is to extract the next template. The first time was the template of first Hokage Senju Hashirama in the peak period, and the second time was the template of the peak Motherland. As for what template he would draw for the third time, his expectations were virtually full. The next moment, without any sign, the familiar and terrifying power poured into Luo Lei's body, and he began to transform Luo Lei's body with ease. Finally, after an hour, Luo Lei stretched his waist in delight, just as he expected, and all aspects of his attributes seemed to have undergone a huge transformation. How much has it been enhanced? Luo Lei's eyes moved, and he casually ordered, "System, I want to take a look at my latest attribute panel." Ding. Host's property panel is being generated. Ding. The property panel is generated. Host, Luo Lei. Age, 19 years old. Chakra attributes: fire, wind, thunder, earth, water, yin, yang. Good money. Abilities: first Hokage Senju Hashirama's template, peak state. Unlock fusion 100%, Marine 6 styles, top, observation haki, top, armament haki, top, conqueror's haki, top, awakening exclusive ability overlord kill. Motherland template, peak state. Unlock fusion 86%. Constitution: 232,630, 10 points for ordinary people. Number 21,750. Strength: 286,000. One punch is about 616,690 tons. Speed: 4,250. Open black lens bracket 4,140 to 4,200 meters, S close black lens bracket heat rays. 3,079,500 to 3,101,000 degrees Celsius. The number of times to extract the template: 0, lift. Chapter 114 Momosagi. You don't want to. Sure enough. The more you unlock the fusion, the more powerful the attribute doubling, which is completely unreasonable. Taking a brief glance at his attribute panel, Luo Lei's eyes flashed with surprise, and he couldn't help sighing. People from the Motherland are so perverted, I don't know how strong the real Superman is. 5. Actually, he himself does not know how strong the ability and strength of the peak Motherland people are. But, judging from what has been unlocked now, there are still some perverts. The physique, spirit, strength, speed, and thermal vision have all been greatly improved, which has virtually transformed various abilities, such as Marine. Both 6 styles and armament hockey reach the top. More importantly, as the body transforms, the already majestic sage body Chatanla. It seems to have grown a lot again. I am afraid that it is not comparable to the chakra of 10 tails. It feels like it's still a little short of breaking through to the 6 paths level. After roughly sensing his physical state, Luo Lei's cheek showed a thoughtful expression. In fact, after merging the template of the peak first Hokage Senju Hashirama, he has been trying to find a way to break through to the 6 paths level. After all, under 6 paths and above 6 paths are completely 2 concepts. At his peak, first Hokage Senju Hashirama was very strong and could be called the first person under 6 paths. But, less than 6 paths, in the world of Hokage, it is a second-class existence after all. It should be soon. I feel that the Chatanla in my body is about to reach an ultimate. Not long after, Luo Lei shook his head, too lazy to think so much. To break through to the 6 paths level, the most obvious sign is the Master Truth-Seeking Ball. In the original work, the ways of Master Truth-Seeking Ball can be roughly divided into 3 types. The first is to use the 7 attributes of chakra to make, the second is to use Tensigan, Rinnegan to make, and the third is to fully learn the 6 paths magic. In fact, there is another just like 10 tails, which has a huge and almost endless chakra. It will change the quantity and cause the qualitative change, and it will be directly in one step. The power of Master 6 paths will condense the truth-seeking ball and reach the 6 paths level. 10 tails Jinchuriki is the most direct example. The first method Luo Lei has tried many times more than 40 years ago. It seems that there is something missing in the pirate world, and they all failed. He doesn't have Tensigan and Rinnegan, and the second method can't work at 833. As for the third method, it's almost impossible to learn 6 paths magic, unless you can draw the template of Sage of 6 paths. Therefore, Luo Lei decided to follow the 10 tails path after drawing the ancestor's template. It seems to be working pretty well now. For now, after a few minutes, Luo Lei took a sip of hot tea from the teacup, and subconsciously used his super perception to sense the sea area where Wanokuni was. Nowadays, observation hockey is cooperating with super perception. Luo Lei himself does not know how far he can perceive, so every time he perceives, he will take Wanokuni as the center and spread continuously in all directions. Sudden, just when Luo Lei put down the teacup. As if sensing something, a playful look appeared on his cheeks. If there is no misperception, it seems that some uninvited guests are watching Wanokuni in the waters near Wanokuni. It just happened to become stronger. Let's go and play. Swish. With a cracking sound, Luo Lei's body disappeared into the room. At the same time, the sea near Wanokuni, some merchant ships are moving slowly on the sea. If someone with the eye of God, looking carefully from top to bottom, will find that these merchant ships appear to be circling some commercial islands near Wanokuni. That's right, these pirate ships disguised as merchant ships came to spy on Wanokuni, including Marine, CPO, Straw Hat League, Revolutionary Army, etc. Sometimes when we encounter it, everyone is tacit, and they don't dare to go to war, lest they attract the Beasts pirates and the BIGMOM pirates, then they are all over. At this time, on a sea area to the west of Wanokuni, a merchant ship was sailing slowly, and several revolutionary troops dressed as merchants on the deck were holding binoculars and looking at Wanokuni solemnly. Wanokuni still has no movement. A businessman dressed as a revolutionary army shook his head and ordered in a deep voice. Let's go, we should leave. Yes. Boom. An explosion sounded. BJDG, the other revolutionary army has not finished speaking. The body was smashed alive by something, turned into a cloud of blood, and the splash deck was all over the place. The revolutionary army holding the binoculars was stunned, wiped the blood on his cheeks, and was just about to say something, but found that the revolutionary army on the deck hadn't reacted, and his body was all turned into blood mist. Advertisement finally. A figure was suspended in midair like a ghost. The ancestors of the sea. Seeing this figure, the revolutionary soldier holding the binoculars widened his eyes, with an unbelievable look on his cheeks, as if he did not expect that he was only instructed to monitor Wanokuni, and that Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, would be attracted. Laugh. The next moment, what else did the revolutionary soldier with the binoculars want to say? A hot gaze swept across his body, and the pirate ship under his feet was cut in half from the middle. Perhaps the temperature was too high, and the body of the revolutionary army holding the binoculars turned to ashes, and the pirate ship under his feet was cut in half, and a raging fire was also ignited. Finally, this camouflaged merchant ship disappeared into the endless sea in less than a minute. First, laugh, after getting a pirate ship with no effort. Luo Lei didn't pay attention to which force it was, and when his mind moved, his body disappeared in midair. Therefore, in the next half hour, those ships disguised as merchant ships in the waters near Wanokuni suffered. A lot of people on the boat haven't reacted yet. They were either cut alive by a red-hot sight, or photographed to the bottom of the sea by a wooden golem, or smashed alive by Luo Lei's body, almost all of them. The army was wiped out. At this time, in a sea farther from Wanokuni, a Marine's top warship is hovering motionless on the sea. Guion Vice Admiral, something bad happened. An urgent voice sounded, and a Colonel Marine hurried out of the cabin and said in an unbelievable tone. The Marines in the waters near Wanokuni disguised as businessmen have all lost contact. What? Momosagi, who was sitting on the deck and basking in the sun, suddenly opened his eyes and said in surprise, "Are you saying that everything is lost?" Yes. The Colonel Marine nodded and said, "It took less than half an hour before and after, and all of them lost contact. Let's go back for a while, Wanokuni must have done something." Momosagi hesitated for a while before ordering. "Send some more people to investigate what's going on, whether the Beast's pirates and the BIGMOM pirates have taken action. Nowadays, Wanokuni and the Straw Hat Major League. It is the focus of Marine and world government." This time Momosagi was tasked with keeping an eye on Wanokuni's movements. TT. The voice did not fall, a playful voice sounded. Luo Lei's body appeared above the Marine's top warship. After hearing this, Momosagi looked up at the sky subconsciously, and when he saw the person coming, his expression suddenly solidified, his face turned pale with fright, and the whole person seemed to be petrified, standing there dumbfounded. As for the Marine soldiers on the deck, the reaction was similar, they almost smashed their eyes, and even slumped on the deck. How is this possible? Ancestors of the sea, Luo Lei. He actually appeared here. For a time, there was a dull and dignified atmosphere on the deck. Ha ha, in midair, the corners of Luo Lei's mouth twitched slightly, and he said slowly, "I just wanted to warm up a little, but I didn't expect to encounter a big fish from Marine. 5. Luo Lei planned to go back after dealing with the uninvited guests in the waters near Wanokuni. But it happened to sense the breath of these Marines. Just stopped by. Just happened to spot Vice Admiral and Backup Admiral Momosagi of Naval Headquarters. Boom. After this sentence, the Marine soldiers on the deck came back to their senses at once, with cold sweat on their foreheads, and extremely frightened expressions in their eyes. Ancestors of the sea, Luo Lei. Why did he come? What should I do? What should I do now? Advertisement, it's screwed, we're screwed. Accompanied by a series of frightened voices, the Marine soldiers on the deck didn't even have the heart to resist, and there was only one thought in their heart's ashes, and that was death. It turned out to be his hand. Momosagi barely suppressed the fear in his heart, and revealed a wry smile that suddenly dawned on him. She has been hiding far away, and she doesn't even dare to approach the sea area near Wanokuni, but she never thought that it would be perceived by the ancestors of the sea. Is she going to kill her in the sky? You go, I'll hold him back. But Momosagi is also Marine's substitute admiral. After the initial tremor, he quickly regained his senses and gave a loud command. Laugh. This is the sound of Kimpira being pulled out by Momosagi. Perhaps knowing that there is a huge gap in strength, Momosagi was planning to strike first, and rushed towards Luo Lei in a flash. Clang. This is the sound of Jinpira slashing on Luo Lei wrapped around armament hockey. Except for a majestic energy fluctuation, it has no substantive effect at all, and it does not break Luo Lei's defense at all. Damn. Momosagi clenched her silver teeth tightly, and wanted to wave the Jinpira in her hand again. Snapped. A crisp voice sounded, a slap print appeared on Momosagi's face, who was just about to do it again. Perhaps the force was too great, and Momosagi's body slammed on the deck, making a crisp crashing sound. It's so fast, I can't react at all. Momosagi, who slammed on the deck, covered her swollen cheeks. In her heart, there was nothing but despair. Too strong, the ancestors of the sea are really too strong. Even if it is stronger than her, it seems that there is no way to fight back. No, I can't give up. Pity, when Momosagi wanted to stand up. Luo Lei's eyes in midair began to flash with red light. Laugh. Next second, a fleeing marine was bombarded alive by the red heat vision. Of course, Luo Lei controlled the temperature and didn't turn on the fire, otherwise the temperature of more than 3 million degrees Celsius would explode, and this sea area would not be able to withstand it. And this is just the beginning. What? A series of desperate screams sounded. The remaining Marine soldiers who wanted to escape were almost unable to fight back, and they were bombarded by heat sites one by one. All of a sudden there was blood rushing, the air was filled with the pungent smell of blood. About 10 seconds later, all the Marines at the scene except Momosagi were wiped out. All dead. Demon, this is a demon. Why is this? Momosagi slumped on the deck in despair, smelling the blood in the air, and his mind fell into a blank. However, unbeknownst to Momosagi, this was just the beginning. Swish. After a few seconds, before Momosagi could react, Luo Lei was carried into the cabin. After 3 hours, Momosagi, you don't want to spread the news today, do you? After saying this, Luo Lei happily walked out of Momosagi's room. Why? Momosagi's body in the room trembled a few times, and he couldn't help thinking of some of the pictures just now, and his eyes became tearful again. Ancestors of the sea, just an unscrupulous super jerk. Chapter 115 Dragon. Fighting Tiger Brothers, fighting father and son soldiers. Ancestors of the sea, just an unscrupulous super jerk. Actually, even Momosagi himself thought he was doomed. But I didn't expect that Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, who played cards unreasonably, actually took a fancy to her body. Well now, this time to monitor Wanokuna's mission, she lost her wife and lost her army, and even got in it. If she had known this was the case, even if the final boss of the world government gave an order, Momoshiki will not accept this task. Thinking of this, Momoshiki clenched his silver teeth and picked up the jinpira that was placed beside him, and wanted to cut himself off. A scholar can be killed but not shamed. The insult she received today, only death can prove her innocence. Only, after picking up Jinpira, Momoshiki's pretty face has a hesitant expression. In the end, Momoshiki left Jinpira beside her, and the two lines of tears flowed silently again. She couldn't commit suicide, she wanted revenge, she wanted to find that devilish man, revenge. The other side, ding. Congratulations to host, you can do whatever you want without being restrained, and the system will reward you with 2% of the experience. Ding. I hope the host will continue to work hard, follow his heart, not be bound, and do whatever he wants. Luo Lei, who had already reached the deck, was about to leave when a series of system prompts suddenly sounded in his mind. Immediately after, a majestic energy poured into his body again and began to transform his body. I came out and became stronger again. Half an hour later, Luo Lei felt his body getting stronger again, and involuntarily showed a cold smile. He is getting stronger almost all the time. What are Luffy and I am fighting him for? This time, if Luffy and Yimu are not F***ed at one time, he will not be the ancestor of the sea. Swish. A cracking sound rang out, Luo Lei's body left the deck and disappeared. At the same time, what happened in the waters around Wanokuni? Advertisement. I can't hide it at all. When the various forces found that their subordinates in the waters around Wanokuni had lost contact, the first reaction was that it was bad. Wanokuni started to do it, and the second reaction was to send people again to see what was going on. But, when the news of the ancestors of the sea, Luo Lei's own hands came out. Whether it was the world government, Marine, CP0, Straw Hat Alliance, Revolutionary Army, etc., all of them became miserable in an instant, and they dared not send people to the waters near Wanokuni. They all know that this is the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei, who dares to fight again. The consequences may be very serious. In an instant, even the Straw Hat Alliance, which is still consolidating its power, dares not send people to the waters around Wanokuni anymore. Not to mention the world government, Marine, and CP0. They're thinking of catching cicadas and orioles behind, so they withdrew a large number of espionage personnel immediately, and even the Straw Hat Alliance did not monitor them. For a time, the invisible power of Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, made the whole sea shudder and tremble. New World, MARINEG-2 headquarters, inside the top-level general staff office. Staff officer. He looked at a vacation note in his hand and fell into deep thought. Marine didn't send anyone to monitor Wanokuni after the ancestor of the sea. Luo Lei showed his sword, but at this moment, Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral and Substitute Admiral actually applied for leave. This made the Crane staff bewildered. She knows Momoshiki very well. There is no special situation, she will never drop the chain at a critical moment. Unless something happens on this mission, it was deliberately concealed by Momoshiki. The next moment, as if thinking of something, Staff Officer Crane took out a document with information, which recorded the destruction of the Marine Corps on the Marine top-level warship that Momoshiki was on. At first, she thought Momoshiki was lucky and escaped. Now it looks like something must have happened. Could it be? 35 boom, accompanied by the sound of clapping the table? There was a look of anger and suffocation on the cheek of Staff Officer Crane. She realized it, and suddenly wanted to understand, this unscrupulous ancestor of the sea. Luo Lei will definitely take Momoshiki. Otherwise. Damn. Marine ate a dumb loss in the hands of the ancestors of the sea again, and a good cabbage was arched by a pig. Advertisement. Not long after, the sound of smashing things came from the office of the Crane's staff. The other side, Kamabaka Kingdom, inside a conference room of the Revolutionary Army. Katakana middle dot for flowers, katakana middle dot Monkey D Dragon, Emporio Ivankov, Lightning, Bello Beatty and other cadres of the Revolutionary Army gathered together. Okay, now that we're all here, let's announce one thing. Monkey D Dragon seemed to be in a good mood, and gestured to Koala. Emperor Sabo isn't dead yet. Koala looked at the latest information in his hand, and said excitedly. Faced with Im's airborne attack, he was seriously injured, and now the injury has been recovered, and he is secretly rushing back to the kingdom of Kamabaka. What? Great, really great. Ha ha ha, God really bless our Revolutionary Army. After hearing this, numerous cadres of the Revolutionary Army in the conference room were stunned for a moment, and then involuntarily exclaimed one after another. To know, after learning that I am destroying a country in order to stand out. They broke a cold sweat for Sabo, and now Sabo is not dead. It is really lucky for the Revolutionary Army. Correct. After everyone calmed down a little, Monkey D Dragon narrowed his eyes and said solemnly. It is not safe to talk to phone bugs now. When everyone is talking, it is best to use passwords. 35. Understood. Upon hearing this, many cadres of the Revolutionary Army nodded solemnly. This time Sabo was accurately located by the world government. It should be that the phone bug exposed the specific location, and then the incident of IM destroying a country from the air happened. Lord Dragon, The Straw Hat Alliance has been established. Should our revolutionary army respond? Koala seemed to have thought of something and asked curiously. Swish, swish, swish. The voice did not fall. Many cadres of the revolutionary army looked at the dragon with curiosity. These days, the revolutionary army is very concerned about the Straw Hat League, and the most important thing is the Straw Hat Luffy, the leader of the Straw Hat League. Ha ha ha, our revolutionary army doesn't have to respond, but will participate. Facing everyone's gaze, Monkey D. Dragon laughed loudly and said without hesitation, fighting tiger brothers, father and son soldiers, even Luffy is not afraid. What am I afraid of? Chapter 116 King Luffy. The whole army strikes, fighting tiger brothers, father and son soldiers, even Luffy is not afraid. What am I afraid of? After saying this, Monkey D. Dragon also held his head high, showing a look of relief and pride. Long is very satisfied with this son of his own, especially after learning that Luffy is on his own and has become the leader of the Straw Hat League. He is even more pleased with the old tears. There is nothing to say, like a father, like a son, Luffy deserves to be his good son. Only, when I think of my son Luffy, Monkey D. Dragon thought of his father again. After being killed by the ancestors of the sea, he was resurrected and became the puppet of the ancestors of the sea. Such bad behavior is unbearable, and Sabo will definitely participate. So, in love with reason, August 33 inches Revolutionary Army will attack Wanokuni. Understood. Father and son are united in their hearts, and they will break gold, and this time they will definitely be able to defeat the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei. Leader, then we are in a state of combat readiness? 99 After hearing this, the Revolutionary Army cadres present showed a confident smile, and some of them had already begun to imagine the famous scene where the leader and Luffy joined forces to attack the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei, which will definitely go down in history and spread throughout the world sea. There was an undisguised fighting intent in Monkey D. Dragon's eyes, and he commanded in a firm tone. During this time, our revolutionary army can also start moving. Have nothing to say, advertisement, it's time to show your true strength. At the same time, when the whole sea was frightened by the invisible power of Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea. New World, on an island where the Straw Hat League is located. But it was full of heat. Looking around, you could see the flags of the Straw Hat Pirates, the Cross Guild, the Aokiji Pirates, the Kid Pirates, the Heart Pirates, etc., hanging on a railing and fluttering in the wind. Maybe because of the cooperation, the major pirate groups reached an unprecedented short-lived peace. Even if there are grievances and contradictions between each other, during the Straw Hat Alliance, they are temporarily let go, especially after the leader, Straw Hat Luffy, announced the reduction of the number of people. The more than 10,000 people left on the island are all elite forces, and after these days' mobilization, cohesion and centripetal force are gradually becoming stronger. In short, the comprehensive strength is constantly increasing. It can't be better to describe it as thriving, at this time. In a large conference room in the central area, leader, Straw Hat Luffy, as well as Pluton Rayleigh, Beckman, Buggy, Kuzan, Uda, Hawkeye Mahawk, Crocodile, Kid, Luo, Marco, Zoro, Sanji, Garrett and many more were gathered together. It's basically been integrated now. 35 Seeing that it was almost time to come, Beckman rubbed his temples and said a little tiredly. The current Straw Hat Major League has basically taken shape. As for the specific strength, only Wanokuni will know. So are we going to do it? Hearing this sentence, Crocodile held a cigar and said solemnly. Some time ago, Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, cleared the sea area around Wanokuni, and he should also be preparing for the big battle. But, from the information we have collected, Wanokuni has not made any movement from beginning to end. Uda narrowed his eyes and said with a serious face, this ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei, seems to be very confident and can handle our Straw Hat League. Are you sure? Pluton Rayleigh sighed with a smile. If Luo Lei is not confident, then he is not the ancestor of the sea. After all, no one knows what level of strength he has reached now. Advertisement when it comes to this, in order not to undermine everyone's self-confidence and enthusiasm, Rayleigh didn't want to say more. After all, with the Straw Hat Luffy, who is favored by the goddess of fate, who loses and who wins is really not sure. If Luffy explodes again like Kaido of the Beasts, it will be perfect. HMPH. No matter how strong he is, we have to fight. Kid snorted coldly and said in a cold tone. The ancestors of the Great Ocean do things unscrupulously and do whatever they want. No matter the world government, marines, or pirates, they will not give face. If we let him continue to develop, we may all become the ancestors of the Great Ocean. Dog, look up to his breath and live, that's right. No matter how strong the ancestors of the sea are, they have to fight. We believe in the strength of the Luffy leader. As long as we work together and unite, we will be able to create a miracle. 99 Kid's words are like a fuse, arouse the shouting and reconciliation of many people again. For many people, having a world government that has ruled the sea for more than 800 years is enough of a headache. Now there is another Luo Lei who wants to be the ancestor of everyone. If you don't resist, then everyone will go back to their own homes, find their own mothers, and prepare to live tremblingly under the power of the ancestors of the sea. Number 77. Suddenly, at this moment, Luffy, who had never spoken, took a deep breath, stood up slowly, and said solemnly, since everyone has confidence, I will also simply say a few words. 35. The ancestors of the sea, Luo Lei's actions have already touched our bottom line. Everyone may know that my grandfather, Garp, was killed by the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei, and my leader, the red-haired Shanks, was also killed by the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei, and now they are all resurrected by Luo Lei now. 3.6 has become a puppet tool man. 9. Also, some of my very good friends were robbed by the ancestors of the sea, and Momonosuke of Wanokuni was also tortured and killed. So, a lot of things really don't just pass by forbearance, but must stand up, wave your fists, and fight against the evil forces, even if it is death, at all costs. Having said that, Luffy's tone was obviously a little crying and a little gaff, but he still gritted his teeth and made a final voice that was very firm. Tomorrow morning, the Straw Hats will attack the entire army. This time, we will fight against the water. It is bound to defeat the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei. Chapter 117. The Straw Hat Major League Attack, Im's Order, Marine Action. This sea, since the resurrection of Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea more than 40 years ago, has been in a state of constant vibration, so much so that Marine and pirates, who have always been on opposite sides, temporarily reduced their conflicts and contradictions due to the power of the ancestors of the sea. And countless people listened to the deeds of the ancestors of the sea, Luo Lei, and their hearts were already shocked and insensitive, and they did not dare to say anything more about the threat of the ancestors of the sea, for fear of getting caught. But, at such a tense moment, except for the news of the world, the newspapers are just like chicken blood, regardless of the 3,721, they send out copies of newspapers to the entire sea. The leader of the Straw Hat League, Straw Hat Luffy, directly announced that after the integration of the Straw Hat League is completed, the entire army will attack, and it is bound to defeat the ancestors of the sea. It is bearable or unbearable, in the face of the increasingly unscrupulous ancestors of the sea, the Straw Hat Alliance will no longer bear it, and will directly show its sword. Close double angle bracket. The leader of the Straw Hat Major League, Straw Hat Luffy, expressed great confidence in defeating the ancestors of the sea. Close double angle bracket. The ancestors of the sea, Luo Lei's actions caused public anger. The Straw Hat Alliance will act for the major forces and sweep Wanokuni. Greater than boom. As soon as the news came out, the sea, which was still silent, was once again set off in an instant. Even those people in the sea who were already numb in their hearts, after seeing such news, they all gasped in shock, and their scalps went numb for a while. I'm coming. The 19th World War is finally coming. In fact, when Straw Hat Luffy raised his arms to form the Straw Hat League, everyone knew that there would be a battle between the Straw Hat League and the Great Ocean Ancestor, Luo Lei. It was just a matter of time. Now that the Straw Hat League is finally ready, it is about to start a war with the ancestors of the sea. It goes without saying that a shocking battle that will determine the direction of history is about to break out. No matter who wins or loses, it will change the pattern of the entire sea. Of course, there are some people who look a little further, but their hearts are tight. They think of Marine, who has always been low-key like a salted fish after the resurrection of the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei, and the end of the world government. World government without any voice after Boss IM was exposed. Especially IM, after destroying a country in one move. It just froze, and there was no movement at all. Now that the Straw Hats League is going to finally fight against the ancestors of the sea, what will the world government, which has always been low-key, do? Once the world government, which has ruled the sea for more than 800 years, also intends to act. That form will definitely get more complicated. After all, whether it is the era of the ancestors of the sea, the era of rocks, or the era of Roger, compared with the 800-year history of world government, it is a big joke. If the behemoth world government is also ready to act, it may be an unprecedented three-way melee. Unfortunately, in such a situation, there is still no movement from the world government. Let many people and forces, I'm not sure whether the world government will take action or not. Advertisement: we can only focus our attention on Wanokuni. No matter whether the world government does anything or not, there will be a more terrifying battle than the Summit War. For countless civilians, the sea is going to be turbulent. After they were horrified, they chose to lie down. For them, whether the ancestors of the sea, Luo Lei, the Straw Hat Alliance, and the world government are not good things, wishing to lose all three. New World, MARINEG-2 headquarters, inside a conference room at the top of the fortress. The five elders, the Army Commander Kong, Marines Marshal Sakazuki, and others gathered together again. Compared with previous conferences, the atmosphere of this meeting is undoubtedly more solemn and depressing. Because, just now, IM, who had been quiet all the time, suddenly issued the latest order to the 5 elders. The Straw Hats will start, and the world government can also start. If necessary, they can cooperate with the Straw Hats. As soon as this command comes out, not only the five elders were stunned, even Kong, Sakazuki, the chief of the CPO, and others were stunned. Didn't it say that the mantis catching the cicada or the oriole is behind? Why did you want to cooperate with the Straw Hat League? Is this a joke? Does Mr. Yim think that the Straw Hat League is not a threat to the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei? I don't know, I don't understand, I can't figure it out. This is the collective reaction of everyone in the conference room. Even more frustrating, even the 5 elders didn't dare to ask Lord Yim why he issued such an order. It's scary. Kizaru pulled his head and said incredulously, what should I do now? Do you really want to cooperate with the Straw Hat Major League? What on earth is Lord I am thinking? Sakazuki's eyes seemed to have flames burning, and he said coldly, "Isn't it nonsense that Marine cooperates with pirates? If this is spread, our Marine's face will be disgraced." 99. What's going on? Why did Lord Yimu suddenly send such an order? 99. We are already ready to go. Want to take advantage of the fishermen, but tell us to cooperate with the Straw Hats when necessary. Do you look down on us? 35. Along with the unbelievable voices, Green Bull, Fujitora, Kong, Dark Horse, and the 6 CP0 chiefs all showed disbelief and looked at the 5 elders with puzzled eyes. We don't know why. Facing everyone's gaze, the bald-headed 5 elders showed a helpless smile and said solemnly, "Maybe Lord Yimu has a new plan." We can't guess what Lord Yimu's thoughts are. The bearded 5 elders thought for a while before saying slowly, "No matter what, let's follow the orders of Lord Yimu first. It can only be this way." Kong nodded and responded, "As a godlike existence, Lord Yimu must have his own arrangements and plans." Okay. This is Lord Yimu's order, and no one should question it. At this time, the 5 elders with the highest status who hadn't said much all the time took a deep breath, a firmness flashed in his eyes, and ordered, "Let's get ready to go too. No matter what, let's go first. Besides, if it really comes to the necessary moment, cooperation is not impossible." 99. Hear this quote from the 5 elders. Everyone in the conference room hesitated for a while, then nodded in no particular order. As subordinates, their first priority is to obey orders, so, since Lord Yimu has already issued orders, no matter how uncomfortable they are in their hearts, they must execute them. If I'm not wrong, it should be related to the ancestors of the sea, Luo Lei, who want to resurrect rocks, Roger, Golden Lion Shiki, Zephyr and others. Sudden advertisement at this moment, the crane staff sitting in the corner clenched his fists and said with a blank face, "I just received the latest information. Zephyr, Golden Lion's graves have been dug up, and it was the resurrected Garp who did it." 35. After saying this, Staff Officer Crane was extremely bitter in his heart. This ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei, is really a wishful thinking. If it was someone else, it would be impossible to know where Zephyr and the Golden Lion were buried. But Sengoku and Garp happened to know that Golden Lion, in particular, died not long after being caught by the Marine fleet led by the Ghost Spider. Garp buried it himself, and now he digs it out with his own hands. It's a little uncomfortable to think about it. What? The graves of Zephyr and the Golden Lion were dug. Damn, what is Luo Lei, the ancestor of the Great Sea, trying to do? Is he trying to resurrect all those who besieged him 40 years ago? 35. This is too cruel and ruthless. The flaws must be reported. Staff Officer Crane's words were like a thunderclap on the ground, making everyone in the meeting unable to keep calm. Even the 5 elders showed something incomparably horrified. It was only at this time that they knew why Lord Yimu issued such a strange order. Because, if the ancestors of the sea really revive rocks, Roger, Whitebeard, Zephyr, etc., then the comprehensive strength will be greatly enhanced. Unless the Straw Hat Luffy crazy burst seeds. Otherwise, the 837 chance of winning the Straw Hats is really low. Just why dig graves? Could it be that something is needed to resurrect people? This is a bit confusing. But, no matter what, the thought of the ancestors of the sea, Luo Lei wanting to resurrect rocks, Roger, Whitebeard, etc., plus the resurrected red-haired Shanks, Garp, Blackbeard, etc., everyone in the conference room felt a while. Tingling scalp, Alexander. Ancestors of the Great Sea, Luo Lei is really shameless. He keeps resurrecting the dead. What is it? I am Sama is wise. After a while, Kong made a statement with a look of admiration. Get ready to go. At this time, the 5 elders with the highest status slowly got up and said, "No matter what, let's take a look at the specific situation first." After saying this, the 5 elders with the highest status strode out of the conference room, followed by the remaining 5 elders. Kong clenched his fists and hurriedly followed. The 6 CPO chiefs looked at each other and followed suit. Go up. Let's go. No matter what, our Marine's goal is to eliminate evil, maintain justice, and never allow a trace of evil to exist. Sakazuki slowly got up and walked out of the conference room with an indifferent expression. After hearing this, the eyes of the 3 Admiral Fujitora, Green Bull, Kizaru, and the Dark Horse lit up, nodded thoughtfully, and followed suit. In the end, there was only one crane staff who stayed at naval headquarters in the conference room. After everyone left, Staff Officer Crane let out a faint sigh. I don't know what happened, especially after what happened to Momosagi. She always had an ominous feeling in her heart. However, when he thought that the world government still had trump cards that he had not used, and that Lord Yimu had not yet started, Staff Officer Crane could not help but relax. We'll definitely win. The world government has ruled the sea for more than 800 years, and it will definitely have the last laugh. The only pity is Luffy, who got himself into it. Chapter 118. Your era has passed, and now is the era of the ancestors of the sea. 2 more kneeling and begging for subscription. The sea is turbulent. Wanokuni, in the center of the vortex, is a piece of light cloud and light wind. Although at this moment, the eyes of the whole world are focused on Wanokuni, but the civilians, ninjas, samurai and so on in Wanokuni are not panic at all, and even some want to laugh. Because, in their hearts, the ancestor of the sea, Lord Luo Lei is an invincible existence. Even Straw Hat Luffy, who miraculously defeated Kaido of the Beasts, can't possibly defeat Lord Luo Lei. So, they are all waiting to see how the Straw Hat Major League route, and how Straw Hat Luffy will die. How high the Straw Hats jump now, the more miserable they fall. In this case, Wanokuna's atmosphere is incredibly relaxed. There is still some vague expectation that the Straw Hat Major League will come to Wanokuni soon. Flower Capital, inside the palace in the central area. What are these newspapers reporting? In order to gain attention, I really don't even want to face it all. Give the Straw Hat Luffy 10 courage, and I dare not say that I am very confident in defeating the ancestors of the sea, Lord Luo Lei. These newspapers have absolutely no useful information at all. Compared with the newspapers of the news of the world, they are rubbish among rubbish. 35. Looking at the newspapers in his hand, Jin, Quinn, Jack, Katakuri, Parasparrow and others all showed extremely angry expressions, and the grumpy Jack tore the newspaper in his hand to shreds. I wanted to read some newspapers, but some messy news. There's no useful news other than knowing that the Straw Hats have made their way to Wanokuni. Ha ha ha, these newspapers have also learned to exaggerate and distort the facts. Hearing these words, Morgans couldn't help laughing, and said disdainfully, "It seems that I have been suppressed by my world news for too long, and now a big league of Straw Hats has finally appeared, and they can't bear it. Live up to the flag and shout, 99. After saying this, Morgans also showed a smug look in his bird's eyes, and added, "Let these newspapers be proud for a few more days, and when the Straw Hat Major League is defeated, it is time for our world news to show its power." All right. Since hugging Lord Luo Lei's thigh, the news of the world, by reporting one piece of news that shocked the sea. It has become a veritable #1 newspaper office in the sea, and has dropped to second place by almost a dozen blocks. What's more, because of the ancestor of the sea, the Kamui of Lord Luo Lei, neither the world government, the Marine, nor some other major forces dared to take action against the news of the world easily, making the expansion of the news of the world in the sea impossible, unhindered. Don't pay attention to these newspapers, they're all rubbish. Kaido of the Beasts took a sip of the wineglass and took a sip in a depressed voice, and said solemnly, "As long as we win this time, these newspapers will turn their backs one by one faster, and they will come to praise Lord Luo Lei again." Yeah. 35 Beside, Charlotte Linlin also looked at the dessert in her hand helplessly, and added meaningfully, "Everything depends on strength. Only with strength can you dominate everything, and you can do whatever you want." Alas, 99 the next moment, I don't know if they have a good understanding of each other. Charlotte Linlin and Kaido of the Beasts seem to be in the same disease and sigh in no particular order. After the resurrection, this undead body is all good, except that it has no sense of taste and smell, and does not need to eat or sleep, which makes Kaido of the Beasts and Charlotte Linlin feel a little boring after the initial excitement. Drinking alcohol has no taste, it is decomposed after drinking it, and desserts have no taste, and many things cannot be done. This makes both of them feel that life is somewhat meaningless. Therefore, the two of them now place their hopes on Lord Luo Lei again, to see if one day in the future, when Lord Luo Lei becomes more powerful, can they be truly resurrected, instead of being like the present, the soul is normally, the body is made of countless dust. Lord Luo Lei, shouldn't we prepare for it now? A few seconds later, looking at Luo Lei who was sitting in the main seat and drinking tea slowly, Hancock frowned slightly, and said without any emotion, "The Straw Hat Major League is friending now, we should pay more attention to it. After all, the Straw Hat Luffy isn't a fuel-efficient lamp. Don't pay attention, it's just a bunch of people." After Luo Lei took a sip of hot tea, he said indifferently, "This time, since they dare to come, I will use all my firepower to play with them and let them know what the real ancestors are." 99. Joke, Luo Lei enhanced twice in a row, from start to finish. He didn't even take the Straw Hat Major League to heart. The only thing that interests him a bit is whether the Straw Hat Luffy will explode again, and when the world government will do it, and when will I show up. All right. A look of admiration flashed across Hancock's beautiful eyes. Advertisement now, she doesn't have any feeling for Straw Hat Luffy at all. Her shape has changed to Lord Luo Lei, and she admires and likes Lord Luo Lei more and more. Damn it. The charm of ancestors is really unstoppable. So much so that when Hancock thought about it, a blush appeared on his cheeks, and some images flashed in his mind. Lord Luo Lei, Garp, haven't they come back yet? Suddenly, Kaido's eyes moved, as if he had thought of something, and asked a little curiously. Charlotte Linlin heard this and added with some doubts, "What on earth did Garp, Sengoku, Redhead, Blackbeard do after destroying naval headquarters? It's almost time to reach the capital of flowers." Luo Lei chuckled lightly, revealing a wisp of Azu's unique smile, and said coldly, "This time, I will resurrect those guys who besieged me at the beginning, and let them take a good look at it. The times have changed. From now on, it will be the era of my ancestors. 99. What? Lord Luo Lei, could it be? Boom, hardly any signs. Kaido of the Beasts and Charlotte Linlin jumped up from the ground, suspicious looks on their cheeks. In fact, Garp, Sengoku, Red-Haired, and Blackbeard didn't return to Wanokuni. They had some vague conjectures in their hearts, but they didn't expect that Lord Luo Lei actually wanted to revive the Rocks, Roger and others who besieged him at the beginning. Think about it, Kaido of the Beasts and Charlotte Linlin are both excited. Rocks, Roger, Whitebeard, Golden Lion Shiki are all very powerful and can be called legends of the sea. But, in front of the ancestors of the sea, Lord Luo Lei, there are really some things that are not enough to see. Now they can imagine how after the resurrection of Rocks, Roger, Whitebeard and others, when they saw that it was Lord Luo Lei who was resurrected, how they looked ugly. F*K. Could it be that Rocks, Roger, Whitebeard and others will all be resurrected? Once these people are resurrected, the Straw Hat Major League is still a piece of shit. Even without the help of Lord Luo Lei, they might be *able to blow the Straw Hat Major League's ***. Soon, accompanied by exclamations, Jin, Quinn, Jack, Katakuri, Parasparrow and others also reacted with hindsight. Besides being happy, they were excited, and the excitement in their hearts could not be suppressed at all. Thinking of the legendary pirates who have been resurrected to become Luo Lei's tool people, they couldn't help but want to laugh at pigs. Cool. It's so cool. Anyone who dares to be an enemy of Luo Lei must be punished and loved by the ancestors of the sea. Even if he dies, he cannot escape the disaster. Boom. Sudden, just at this time, there was a knock on the door. At 7. Kaido of the Beasts, Charlotte Linlin, Jin, Quinn, Jack and others quickly looked at the door, only to see Sengoku, Garp, red-haired Shanks, Blackbeard walking in no particular order. After Blackbeard, the expressions of Sengoku, Garp, and the red-haired Shanks are all very ugly, and the look in their eyes is like eating people. Anger. They never thought, after destroying the naval headquarters, Luo Lei ordered them to dig graves, which was an insult to them. However, they were very resistant and aggrieved in their hearts, but it was of no use. Their bodies were out of control at all, and they went to perform those tasks under Luo Lei's control. Lord Luo Lei, I have dug up Whitebeard's grave. After Blackbeard came in, he said without hesitation. Marco joined the Straw Hat Alliance with some remnants of the Whitebeard pirates. Luo Lei nodded with satisfaction, then glanced at Sengoku, Garp, Shanks, and said violently, I know you are very upset, and there will be more unpleasant things in the future. I hope you keep your eyes wide open. Look. 5. Luo Lei, you. Hearing this sentence, Sengoku, Garp, Shanks showed expressions of exasperation, opened their mouths, wanted to say something, but couldn't say anything. Now they have become the tools for the resurrection of the ancestors of the sea. Who else has the right to speak? Sorry. Whether it's Garp or Sengoku, Shanks has some regrets. Knowing that this Luo Lei would act so recklessly and without any scruples, they really shouldn't have messed with this lunatic and pervert. Now it's alright, it's really hard to be resurrected after the dead. Quinn, are you ready? Luo Lei turned his eyes and looked at Quinn who was still in shock. Advertisement. Quinn was shocked and nodded hastily. Okay, it's time for us to take the last step. Luo Lei stood up, took a deep breath, and said, since the Straw Hat Big League dares to come, it will have to pay the price. It is necessary for the entire sea to completely enter the era of the ancestors of the sea. Got it? 9. Before he finished speaking, Kaido of the Beasts, Charlotte Linlin, Jin, Quinn, Jack and others all showed extremely crazy and violent looks. Things have developed so far, they may create an era belonging to the ancestors of the sea with Lord Luo Lei. After half an hour, on the square in the palace, Kaido of the Beasts, Charlotte Linlin, Jin, Quinn, Jack, Hancock, Katakuri and others all stood there, and the resurrected Garp, Sengoku, red-haired Shanks, Blackbeard stood behind Luo Lei. At this time, almost everyone's eyes were focused on Luo Lei. Accompanied by a majestic chakra wave, Luo Lei made a few seals on both hands. Scoff. Scoff. A slight spatial fluctuation occurs. I saw 5 coffins in a row being summoned from a black hole and placed upright on the square in turn. From right to left, the coffins were Luo, Bai, Jin, Z. Open, clang, clang, clang. A series of sounds of coffin lids being opened. The 5 coffins were opened in no particular order, and inside were Rocks D. Zebek, One Piece, Gold D. Roger, Edward Newgate, one of the former 4 emperors, Golden Lion Shiki, and Zephyr. As for Ochaku, John, Jabba, Silver Axe, either he was transformed into a zombie general, or he wasn't dead and didn't know where he was hiding, or he was dead and didn't know where he was buried. So, can't be resurrected. Rocks D. Zebek opened his eyes with some doubts, his expression was extremely dazed. After killing the ancestors of the sea, he betrayed his relatives and was killed by Garp and Roger together. How is he still alive? Am I alive? Goal. D. Roger twisted his head, and some idiots, he clearly remembered that he was publicly executed by Marine? Now alive? It's incredible. Am I dead? Golden Lion Shiki is also extremely confused, looking at his body, Qian Li's, intact, it seems like he is in a dream. Di-Chi, I sense your breath, you unfilial son. With an angry voice, I saw Whitebeard, who was at his peak, walk out of the coffin, looking angrily at Blackbeard who was standing behind Luo Lei. However, just when Whitebeard wanted to say something, I was stunned for a while, as if I suspected that I was wrong, and I couldn't help rubbing my eyes. The great ancestors. How come the great ancestors are still alive? Something's wrong. Whitebeard, times have changed. Seeing this scene, Blackbeard was not afraid at all, and said in a shocking voice, "Your era has passed, and now belongs to the era of the ancestors of the sea." "What's the situation? Impossible. Why is this? Who can tell me what exactly happened? The ancestors of the sea. Luo Lei has not died yet. Why haven't we died? What are you kidding? Entering the era of the ancestors of the sea." In the next instant, Whitebeard, Golden Lion, Zephyr, all made unbelievable voices, rarely showing a ghostly look, and their minds were shaking. QG. Plus. Percent. It doesn't seem right. Rox ignored Garp and Roger, and looked at Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, with a solemn expression. Now is the era of the ancestors of the sea? Then is there no one to look for my great secret treasure? Roger felt that his head was not enough. He glanced around, and his expression became more and more ugly, especially after seeing the red-haired Shanks. Garp, Sengoku and his state were similar. His heart sank even more. An ominous foreboding. Loose Chapter 119 Laozi's Rules or Rules, 3 Shift Kneeling for Subscription. That's right, is an ominous foreboding. At the beginning, the Roger pirates led by him completed the Grand Line voyage and conquered the Grand Line. At that time, the ancestors of the sea, Luo Lei and Rox died, so he was called One Piece by the world. At last, for physical reasons, he just wanted to open an unprecedented new era through his own death, the era of great pirates. The results of it, now someone told him, ancestors of the great sea, Luo Lei is resurrected. The sea is already the era of ancestors of the sea. What about my era of great pirates? It's incredible, isn't it? But, looking at his resurrected body, and at Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea who resurrected him, Roger felt a little despair in his heart. He is not a fool and a fool. They must have wanted to humiliate and despise them. It's just that the ancestors of the sea, Luo Lei, have a way to bring the dead back to life. It's incredible. Wrong, also not right. The ancestors of the sea seem to be truly resurrected. We are just resurrected souls, and we are also under the control of Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, and we can't get rid of it at all. At the same time, after the initial shock and disbelief, in addition to Roger, Rox, Whitebeard, Golden Lion Shiki, Zephyr all reacted, and at their level, they almost understood something after a little thought. The only thing that tickles their hearts is, what is the situation in the current Dahai? What is the situation? The ancestors of the Dahai, Luo Lei resurrected. What did they want to do? Definitely not just to humiliate them. Quiet. The square fell into silence all of a sudden. People such as Jin, Quinn, Jack, Katakuri, Perisparrow, Hancock and others also widened their eyes and looked at the 5 people in the field. Certainly, if you look closely, 853, most of the eyes fell on One Piece, Roger and Rox, and they were obviously very interested in the legendary One Piece. Ha ha ha, you were resurrected, aren't you happy? Seeing that no one was talking, Kaido of the Beasts grinned and said sarcastically, didn't you besiege Lord Luo Lei at the beginning? Now that Lord Luo Lei has been resurrected by himself, your heart should be very complicated, right? Now the sea has entered the era of the ancestors of the sea. Charlotte Linlin said with a sneer on her face. Lord Luo Lei resurrected you, just want you to witness a battle that affects the entire ocean that determines the direction of world history. Humph, after hearing this, Rox snorted coldly with a gloomy face, glanced at Kaido of the Beasts, then glanced at Luo Lei, and said, the winner is the king and the loser is the bandit. More than 40 years ago, I was convinced that I lost. Orly, I just didn't expect, Luo Lei, you can actually resurrect and resurrect us. Advertisement, good, really good, when talking about this. Rock's tone was obviously a little side, at first. After the ancestors of the sea died, he was backstabbed by his own men and could only watch Roger and Garp join forces. At that time, his heart was already dead, and he was only resurrected by Luo Lei, which made him, as the overlord of the generation, still a little uneasy. I don't care. Zephyr didn't even look at Sengoku and Garp, and said disapprovingly. Before I died, I wanted to use explosive rocks to destroy the whole world, but I failed, and now I hope that the ancestors of the sea can rule the whole sea, and let Marine and the world government get rid of the sea from the sea. Disappear. 39. Upon hearing this, Garp and Sengoku's expressions suddenly changed, and they almost couldn't help shouting angrily. Didn't you all be resurrected the same? What's the air? Or do you think you're still Marine's marshal and Marine's hero? 35. Zephyr folded his arms around his chest, a sneering look flashed across his eyes, and said, since he was resurrected by the ancestors of the great ocean, he must have the appearance of a toolman. Do you still want to teach me now? Are you worthy? 35. It is good. Whatever you think. Sengoku's body trembled with anger, he gritted his teeth, and he couldn't speak directly. Garp sighed and stopped talking. He couldn't stand many decisions of the world government, but he held back, but Zephyr couldn't hold back, and eventually went astray. Now resurrected by the ancestors of the sea, Zephyr is not afraid that he is not eager for the ancestors of the sea, Luo Lei, to blow everything up. Gia ha 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 ha, I don't care anymore. Golden Lion Shiki sensed his intact body, jumped happily on the ground a few times, and said quite freely. The ancestors of the sea, thank you for resurrecting me. I just want to see the ancestors who entered the sea. What is the sea of the times like? An eye-opener. 99. Gula la. Whitebeard made a very heroic voice and said, Luo Lei, I am very happy that you resurrected me, but I only have my sons in my heart, and you may be disappointed. Whitebeard, you've died once, are you still pretending? I've killed a lot of your son. There was a coldness on the corner of Blackbeard's mouth, and he chuckled. Now the rest have joined the Straw Hat League and may also be killed. Teach! Whitebeard roared angrily again, and once he clenched his fist, he wanted to launch an attack, but unfortunately, no matter how he controlled it, his body didn't respond at all, and he was completely out of his control. Father Whitebeard, do you really think that you are still the strongest man in the sea? Your time has passed, you must accept your fate. 99. Blackbeard shrugged in disapproval, and said indifferently, I have died once, and now I was resurrected by Lord Luo Lei, so you can't kill me at all, and I can't kill you either. Rebel! Whitebeard snarled sharply, clenching his fists incompetently and furiously. Angry. Facing the unfilial son of Blackbeard, he was really angry, but, BJDG, his body was out of control, and this feeling was as uncomfortable as eating shit. However, as soon as he heard that Blackbeard was dead, Whitebeard was relieved from his anger, and he couldn't help but feel relieved. Advertisement, what happened to the Straw Hat Major League? At this time, Roger frowned, glanced at Blackbeard, and asked again. This, Blackbeard glanced carefully at Luo Lei. 99 Luo Lei nodded expressionlessly, then I'll tell you about it. With the consent of Lord Luo Lei, Blackbeard suddenly felt confident, took a deep breath, and said, this time it will start with the Wanokuni Fire Festival. After 5 minutes, Blackbeard has only roughly finished describing the current situation of the sea. How so? Hearing these words, Rox, Roger, Golden Lion Shiki, Zephyr, and Whitebeard all had expressions of extreme disbelief on their cheeks, and their hearts were so turbulent that they couldn't calm down at all. It's really what's happening in the sea at this stage. It really makes them unbelievable. Not to mention the strength of Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea. The world government has also created a hidden boss and the Straw Hat Luffy has also formed a Straw Hat Alliance, which is rushing towards Wanokuni. Is this the rhythm of the ocean going to explode? At the same time, they also know why the ancestors of the sea, Luo Lei, wanted to resurrect them. Among them, Golden Lion Shiki and Zephyr don't care. They have been resurrected as puppet tool people, just to witness a top-level war, but Rox, Roger and Whitebeard's expressions have changed and changed. This ancestor of the sea is disgusting them. Really, it's so special that there is no limit, right? Luo Lei, do you want me to kill my own son? 35 Whitebeard suppressed the anger in his heart and said, what exactly do you want to do? Do you have the strength to do whatever you want? Luo Lei, the world government is everyone's common enemy. You can't fight the Straw Hat League. These are the hopes of the sea. Roger gritted his teeth and said solemnly, especially the Straw Hat Luffy, the future of the sea depends entirely on him. My great treasure has been waiting for a destined person. I have a hunch that this Straw Hat Luffy is a destined person. Can you guys turn your battles into jade and silk? One Piece can be that middleman. Luo Lei, I am convinced that I lost. Can't you give me a face? 35. Rox is much simpler and more direct, and said solemnly, after the battle begins, can you stop controlling me? After all, in front of so many people, controlling me, turning my former overlord into a marionette, is that humiliating? Do I really give you face? What are you guys? Are you worthy of negotiating terms with me? Hearing these words, a violent look flashed in Luo Lei's eyes, who had never spoken, and said incomparably domineering. I was able to suppress you more than 40 years ago, and now that I have resurrected you, I just want you to know. What is the real ancestor? Unhappy, unconvinced, uncomfortable, keep it in my heart. Laozi's rules are the rules, you have no choice but to obey. After saying this, Luo Lei didn't even look at Roger, Whitebeard, Rox. Up to now, I still can't recognize the reality. Do you really think that you are still a character? Bargaining prices, negotiating conditions? I'm sorry, you are not worthy. Rox, Roger, and Whitebeard were all so angry that they vomited blood. Impure World Reincarnation's body is bloodless. So they opened their mouths and wanted to say something, but they were so angry that they couldn't say anything. Anger. Aggrieved. Anger. They never thought that Luo Lei would become like this after resurrection. Compared with more than 40 years ago, is it worse? Completely ignored them, unscrupulous to ultimate. Chapter 120 The Arrival of the Straw Hat League, the live broadcast that shocked the sea. Completely ignored them, unscrupulous to ultimate. After all, they were once famous big pirates, can't they give a little face? It turned out well, not only don't give any face, but also slap in the face crazy. This makes Rox, Roger, Whitebeard somewhat unacceptable, angry souls, all trembling. As for the Golden Lion Shiki and Zephyr, there was still some unhappiness in their hearts, but they were relieved quickly. Even though they were the top powerhouses in the sea at the beginning, they have already died once, and many things have faded away. Therefore, the words of Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, did not cause much harm to them. Their time is long gone anyway. Alas, 35 see this scene. The red-haired Shanks sighed uncontrollably, showing a bitter and helpless expression. Captain Roger? It's not that we are not strong enough, but the ancestors of the sea, Luo Lei is too pervert, likes to kill people and kill their hearts. When the body is out of control, let's accept his fate. That's right, after destroying naval headquarters. The red-haired Shanks has already chosen to accept his fate and not resist. Because resisting is useless, and only adds to his troubles. Now he only expects Straw Hat Luffy to fully awaken Nika, the Sun God, and world government and will not do it. That's right, deep inside Shanks is looking forward to the Straw Hat Major League and Marine teaming up. In the face of the ancestors of the sea, Luo Lei, the opportunity will be even greater after joining forces. Why bother? Being resurrected by the ancestors of the sea, you must have the consciousness of being slapped in the face and punished. Garp and Sengoku also looked at each other, and both could see the relief in their eyes. After all, they have already died once. When their bodies are out of control, they can only choose to watch open a little. Ha ha ha, Blackbeard couldn't help but laugh proudly. Cool, I'm so happy inside, watching Whitebeard, Roger, Rocks shriveled, his heart suddenly balanced. Still the same sentence, it is better to die than to live, he, Marshall D. Teach, able to bend and stretch, very aware of current affairs. From now on, he will be the most loyal subordinate of the ancestors of the sea, and strive to one day be able to control his own body and become a Blackbeard who can do whatever he wants. Advertisement, ha ha ha. You have today too. Roger, Rocks, Whitebeard, facing the ancestors of the sea, Lord Luo Lei, you should accept your fate. 99 At this time, Kaido of the Beasts, Charlotte Linlin, Jin, Quinn and others laughed out loud in no particular order, all showing extremely happy expressions, especially when they saw Roger, Rocks and others being incompetent and furious, their hearts sank. Also comfortable. No matter how bright and beautiful you were in your lifetime, now you are resurrected by Lord Luo Lei. If you are a dragon, you must be coiled for me. If it is a tiger, you must lie down for me. And put on a chicken feather. Sorry, you are no longer worthy. Okay, the Straw Hats should be coming soon, but... Just at this time, Luo Lei's super perception seemed to sense something, and he commanded incomparably cold. We are going to set off and go to Wanokuni's pier to welcome these uninvited guests. Come yet? Yes, Lord Luo Lei. Okay, we can't wait. This time we're going to let the Straw Hats know what cruelty is. The voice did not fall, there were exclamations in the square. The eyes of people such as Kaido of the Beasts, Charlotte Linlin, Jin, Jack, etc., burst into a turbulent war. After waiting for so many days, the people from the Straw Hat Major League finally came, and there was nothing to say, is war. Morgans, it's time to start. Luo Lei turned his eyes and gestured to Morgans. It is good. Morgans showed an excited look and said, Lord Luo Lei, our news of the world has long been ready, just waiting for your order. Next, the battle with the Straw Hat League will appear all over the world. Point 35. 35 Luo Lei nodded with satisfaction and said, everyone obeys the order and sets off. Swish. A cracking sound rang out, Luo Lei's body left first. Immediately after, Kaido of the Beasts, Charlotte Linlin, Jin, Quinn, Jack, Hancock and others followed, and Kazuki Hiyori, Yamato and others hesitated and followed. The last ones to leave were Rocks, Roger, Whitebeard and others. Advertisement Their minds were already shocked by the words of Morgans just now. It turned out that Luo Lei planned to live broadcast the battle that was destined to shake the sea. Does that mean that they were resurrected as puppet tool people and completely concealed the matter? Stop. Asking for flowers. I am afraid that the fame will not be destroyed in one go. They really don't want to go, but the body kept up uncontrollably. Among them, Rocks, Zephyr, Golden Lion Shiki, Blackbeard are at the forefront. Roger, red-haired Shanks, Whitebeard, Garp, and Sengoku with complex complexions walk behind. Next, they will stand on the opposite side of some loved ones, controlled by the ancestors of the sea, and want to cry when they think about it. The other side, at the order of Morgans, the branches of the World News newspaper offices around the world have all started to take action. Therefore, in less than a minute, the whole sea. In addition to the Holy Land Mariejois, in countless countries and islands, wherever there is a branch of the World News, there is a live broadcast of a videophone bug. Even in some relatively large countries and islands, several videophone bugs start working at the same time. What's the matter? What does the news of the world want to do? It made a live broadcast. It looks like Wanokuni on the screen. 55. What? Wanokuni? What is this for? In the face of these sudden live broadcasts, all over the sea, many people are extremely confused, and can't figure out what this is trying to do. Didn't the Straw Hat Major League go to Wanokuni? Wanokuni didn't think about how to fight, but made a live broadcast instead. Wait a minute. Wanokuni wouldn't want to live stream the battle with the Straw Hats like the original Summit War, right? Among them, there were some slightly smarter people, who seemed to have thought of something, and let out an exclamation, which immediately detonated the scene. And the fact is that it didn't make everyone wait for a long time. After a few minutes, the live broadcast began to change the lens. Ancestors of the Great Ocean. Luo Lei appeared on the direct screen, with the iconic Azu smile on his cheeks, and said indifferently, Hello everyone, I am Ancestors of the Great Ocean. Next, I will invite everyone to witness a historic moment. At the same time, let everyone know what is the real ancestor of the sea.